Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Night Owl, a show that we do twice a week where we discuss all the latest in pop culture, news, TV and movie reviews, gaming news, and just all of the conversations and discussions of the day in one kind of intimate, cool setting. With me, as usual, I have this wonderful group of gentlemen. I was going to say that with me I have Professor R2, and then Sean Crummell popped up seemingly out of nowhere. And I think he's playing with his microphone.
Yeah, sorry.
Just trying to move it over. It's great. I'm so happy to see you that like you can even play with your microphone, Sean.
That's so nice to hear. That's so sweet.
Sean has been working very hard, and he has less time in the evenings these days. So we're always happy when he joins us, and he's here. So yeah, how's it going, Professor?
Oh, going well. It has been a rough day, honestly. It's been real busy, but we all have those days, and now I get to hang out with some buddies and talk about whatever the hell else happened out there in the world today with entertainment and some politics and any number of other things. So glad to be here.
Absolutely. So, yeah. So I guess we have actually so much stuff happened today. Even after I did like the thumbnail of some main stories we'll talk about, just more and more and more things just kept happening. It's a crazy day where literally every 5 minutes like something else is going on, and I don't know if you guys even know all the stuff that happened, but there's certainly a lot. So I guess we should get through it. For starters, there was all this kind of cabinet confirmation hearings going on today, and I thought that was interesting. I think the main thing that was interesting to me is that the Democrats seem the most objecting the most to two people who, until about 5 minutes ago, were Democrats. Like, I just think that's kind of funny. That
this is true. Yeah. Well,
right?
nobody hates anyone more than they hate a traitor.
Right. Exactly. But what I'm saying is like. They're making it seem like, oh, these awful people that we would never associate with. Like until five minutes ago, you were completely associating with them. And the other thing I'll say is that part of this whole thing goes back, in my opinion, to everything that happened with Biden. Because if you think about it, if Biden wouldn't have run again or would have said, hey, I'm really old and confused, maybe I won't run. And then, or somebody would have said it for him.
You have like a moment of clarity.
A moment of clarity. Who would say that? And if you would have done that and said he's not running for a second term, the Democrats could have done a proper primary. Now, within that primary, people like RFK, people like Tulsi, were amongst the people that, they wanted to be in a primary like that. They wanted that opportunity, and they weren't given that opportunity. The fact that they kind of did that whole thing, that they gave it to Kamala and then took the money and pasted it on her, it sort of took away that process to let these people run. And when RFK said, I'm doing independent, they went out of their way to squash his independent candidacy. In some states, they had him removed from the ballot. They went through great lengths. And then at the end, he's like, you know what? I'm voting for Trump. Like, I'm supporting him. What are you going to do now?
And then they desperately wanted him to stay on the ballot because they thought it would take more votes from Trump than it would from their candidates. So, yeah.
I mean, they did everything. This is objective. Forget about like what I think or don't think, because I've always said that I'm sort of like an independent myself. But they did every stupid thing that they could. They alienated these people. And between you and me, and this is just my opinion, I can't speak for other people. People like Tulsi Gabbard was one of their better people. She wasn't an extreme kind of one of those extreme far left, crazy people. She wasn't like one of those. I don't know, AOC or Ilhan Omar or one of those, kind of wacky people. She was just she was a regular person that I think was the kind of person that could get people from both sides of the aisle, because she's former military. She when she speaks like she sounds like a regular person.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, she was never completely bought in on the what I would call the progressive end of the Democratic Party in a lot of the more out there, more extreme, stuff that's been pushed by a lot of people in that party. And yeah, she was a lot more centrist in many of her views, a lot more supportive of the military and policing and stuff like that than some of other people in that particular party. And so yeah, she was always seen as an outsider.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's not surprising that she would be kind of pushed out and then eventually switch parties.
back in the
Right.
day, I was like, "Oh, I don't know who she is, but I like what she's saying. I'd like to hear more about her." And then they just like squashed her. I never heard from her for because like, how long ago was she running for president? Like, was that like 2 elections ago?
Well, she tried to do the primaries, and I think that I remember that when she was against Kamala, like during those
Yeah,
primaries, she really kind of mopped the floor with
Oh, she
Kamala.
yeah.
shredded her.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of liked her then. I thought that there's
Mhm.
something cool about her. I like this lady, and
Yeah,
she
Yeah.
seemed to me like a more moderate left.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Mhm.
the kind of
And
person that maybe could, appeal to more independence or even, moderate rights or something. I feel like she was some of the best that they had to offer, and
Mhm.
they instead of embracing her, they did everything to chase her away. And
Mhm.
Robert F. Kennedy, I don't know, they never seemed to like him. I understand that he's sort of some people, kind of think he's a bit eccentric or something like that. But you know what? Compared to some of the other people in that party, I don't think he was the worst they had to offer either. And if nothing else, he had a name. People recognize the name Robert F. Kennedy. Uh, it's not a bad brand in U.S. politics even today.
I was gonna say branding is half the battle.
yeah,
Right. I mean,
yeah,
his branding is so good. The only thing that's kind of a downside when he speaks, he has like a funny voice. But
Yeah.
aside from that, I mean, if you
yeah.
just see pictures of him and you see him like work out in the gym and it says like Robert F. Kennedy, that already he can get a lot of votes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, he has a condition that essentially causes partially paralyzed vocal cords, and so
Mhm.
that's why he has that sort of funny voice. I'll tell you what I've found kind of disturbing and a little hilarious is all of these wild leftist TikTokers who are out there trying to do funny impressions of him and making fun of his disability.
So
They're so
that
inclusive.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say it's very caring.
yeah.
Yeah.
Real,
No, I
real
mean,
funny guys.
right.
Real funny.
It's like they're they're always talking about all this like inclusivity and whatever until it's somebody they don't like. And then they'll just,
Mhm.
nothing,
Absolutely.
there's no limit to what's allowed and what's not allowed. So, yeah, the hypocrisy doesn't surprise me. But in any case, out of those two, I don't know why. I think that Robert F. Kennedy actually has more of a chance. I feel like Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, you also had Kash Patel. These are the three that he's trying to get in there. As far as I
Yeah.
know, none of them have been confirmed yet, right?
No, none of them have been confirmed. We did have the former governor of North Dakota, Doug Burgum, was confirmed for Secretary of the Interior today. And then there were a couple of other ones that I think sort of moved forward, but mostly it was today. It was it was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for the second day now, and then some pretty fiery exchanges between Tulsi Gabbard and then and Cash and also with Cash Patel during his uh,
What's
so
your impression here? What do you think? Who do you think of the three are going to be confirmed, if any?
I'm really iffy about Robert F. Kennedy. I do think his stances on things like vaccines for quite some time have been pretty fringe. And I don't think that's going to help him on either side of the aisle. I do think that some of during the confirmation hearing, some of the discussion has been at times rather hilarious. Did you see the Bernie thing?
I was gonna bring it up. It made
If
me
you have
laugh.
some clips and stuff, I saw
I
some
could
stuff. I'm trying to think. Bernie, maybe I read about it but didn't see it. If you have a clip, I'm willing to watch it.
see if I can find it. So anyway, Bernie Sanders was trying to grill RFK over a bunch of different things, and he started talking about stuff that his that the Robert F. Kennedy Foundation sells in their online store. Let's see if I can find it.
This sounds
Does
funny.
Does anyone not get confirmed in these hearings, though? I feel like the last time I heard about hearings, they were just like, "F it, everyone's in." Like, how
Well,
serious do they take it?
I mean, in theory, Trump has the House and the Senate, but sometimes you have these kind of what they call those rhino
Mm,
Republicans,
Yeah.
which don't want to confirm somebody. Also, and I don't know how else to say it. Some of these people, whether they're right or left, they have all these kind of lobbyists and the people that contribute to their campaigns, different
mhm,
like pharmaceutical companies and things like that.
Oh
You have
yeah.
somebody like RFK come in talking about all these pharmaceutical companies. Sometimes just like,
mhm.
it's sad, but sometimes loyalty to the donor, they'll do that before even loyalty to their own party.
Or their own species, practically.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got a video of part of Bernie's exchange here that he had with RFK. You're gonna like this one. If you go ahead and put it in presentation there so we can show it.
Okay. Here, I put in a presentation.
There you go. All right, so
They are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unfaxed, Unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way. Next one is No Vax, No Problem. Now you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines. Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
Yeah, that was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can make that call. Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
Are you
leadership.
supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you will not tell the organization you founded not to continue selling that product. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can you let someone answer an effing question? Jesus Christ.
well, no, that's not how things are done during these hearings. These are not actual attempts at interviewing anyone
Right. This is just
or
attacks.
trying to get to the truth or anything. It's literally 100% grandstanding on everyone's part. It's absurd.
It just sounds like he's pissed that earlier he like called him out for taking $1.5 million from pharmaceutical lobbyists and stuff.
Are you supportive of onesies, sir? Are you?
Yes, I think they're very helpful, sir. I like the little footies.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Bryce.
Oh no, it's so absurd.
It was an absurd, absolutely an absurd interaction.
One of the best comments I've seen on this video is that Bernie is just upset that they don't make him in his size.
But yeah, no, Bernie himself he talks and it's already funny. I don't know why, because of the way he talks. Yeah, what do you think? You this shit? Like, I don't know, just the whole thing just makes it amusing for some reason.
If it was the 90s, he would be a Simpsons character. He would be an SNL character. He's very easily parodied.
He's memeable, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
And he, of course, and we were talking about, getting funding from, pharmaceutical companies and stuff. Bernie tops the list of just about all of them. With funding from pharmaceuticals and vaccine makers and stuff. So yeah, there's when you see that kind of stuff, you're like, wow, that's not suspect. He also completely ignores the fact that it might just be specifically talking about the COVID vaccine, not all vaccines, right?
I do. Sorry, I do like in these hearings though that people are actually saying what everyone's thinking lately. Like the $1.5 million donor thing.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, go ahead.
I mean, he could have told him like, hey, what about all your donors? Did you say that to him?
He did at one point.
I mean, I feel like these things, it just highlights the hypocrisy in all these and all these hearings.
Yeah.
But we also had like Tulsi and Kash Patel. Do you have any cool clips from there? I saw Kash Patel, some of it. Later, I guess he said all these bad words. He said like an N-word with the sand or something like that. And I don't know, that part I already dipped out.
Yeah, see, I've only gotten to see some clips here and there. I did see her opening statement that she made, which a lot of people were really, really boosting on various different social media.
If you have something, you can put it on.
Well, as I say, I can get that. It's quite long though. It's almost 10 minutes. Her opening statement's quite 10 minutes long. So
we can do it. Can you do like fast? Make her talk fast.
Fast talking. Let's get to it. Let's see.
Ludicrous beat, go.
Let's see.
Yeah, do it like 1.7 speed or something.
I can share this. Let's see.
1.5 speed.
I'm honored and grateful to President Trump for his trust and confidence in nominating me to serve our country as the Director of National Intelligence at a time when trust in the intelligence community, unfortunately, is at an all-time low. Chuck Schumer admitted a few years ago, quote, "You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you." For too long, faulty, inadequate, or weaponized intelligence have led to costly failures and the undermining of our national security and God-given freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. The most obvious example of one of these failures is our invasion of Iraq based upon a total fabrication or complete failure of intelligence. This disastrous decision led to the deaths of tens of thousands of American soldiers and millions of people in the Middle East, mass migration, destabilization, and undermining of the security and stability of our European allies, the rise of ISIS, strengthening of Al-Qaeda and other Islamist jihadist groups, and strengthening Iran. Here are just a few other examples. The American people elected Donald Trump as their president not once but twice, and yet the FBI and intelligence agencies were politicized by his opponents to undermine his presidency and falsely portray him as a puppet of Putin. Title I of FISA was used illegally to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, using a Clinton campaign-funded false dossier as their so-called evidence. Biden campaign advisor Tony Blinken was the impetus for the 51 former senior intelligence officials' letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as disinformation specifically to help Biden win the election. Former DNI James Clapper lied to this committee in 2013, denying the existence of programs that facilitated the mass collection of millions of Americans' phone and internet records, yet was never held accountable. Under John Brennan's leadership, the CIA abused its power to spy on Congress, to dodge oversight, lied about doing it until he was caught, and yet has never been held responsible. Under Biden, the FBI abused its power for political reasons to try to surveil Catholics who attend traditional Latin Mass, labeling them as quote-unquote radical traditionalist Catholics. Personally, just 24 hours after I criticized Kamala Harris and her nomination, I was placed on a secret domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies. Sadly, there are more examples. The bottom line is this must end. President Trump's re-election is a clear mandate from the American people to break this cycle of failure, end the weaponization and politicization of the intelligence community, and begin to restore trust in those who've been charged with the critical task of securing our nation. If confirmed as DNI, I will do my very best to fulfill this mandate and bring leadership to the intelligence community with a laser-like focus on our essential mission, ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. As the president's principal intelligence advisor, I'll begin by leading by example, checking my own personal views at the door and committing to delivering intelligence that is collected, analyzed, and reported without bias, prejudice, or political influence.
She speaks very nicely.
Enlisted in the Army because of the horrific terror.
Yeah, she's very well spoken, and her words are chosen wisely. She really takes it to a bunch of these intelligence hoaxes and things that that have come up over the past few years.
I mean, she addressed like every issue and things that were legitimate to address. I like her style. I don't know. I know this is gonna sound weird. The whole rogue thing. I like that.
That's
I was gonna
enjoys that.
I was gonna say, not to disrespect, but that gray hair is still hot.
It's like, it's great. I don't know. I know that she got it, like she had trauma in the, I don't know what it's, stress or whatever it is from her, military service, but
it's always been cool on her.
It's cool. Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, honestly, she must know it's cool because she could have dyed her hair, including that, and she's like, no, I'm going to be like rogue.
Well, that must be something to her character where it's like the Captain Picard. He's bald and he doesn't care.
Yep.
Right.
Istafovas is saying that she'd be VP in 4 years. She probably would not be a bad pick,
No, she
especially
wouldn't be a bad pick.
she's confirmed and we see her, doing this job, really well as the director of national intelligence. Then she could be a great pick. She's definitely well spoken and she knows how to debate. So
Right, she's well spoken.
yeah.
Like when I see her, it's the opposite of the feeling that I felt when I saw Kamala. She sits there, knows how to talk. She's hitting the right points. You could tell that this is a, you know, I don't know. She just seems like a very well put together lady. This Tulsi Gabbard, in my opinion.
She doesn't cackle enough. I'm gonna say.
Oh, there's that. Yeah.
No, but it's a
Yeah.
combination. Like obviously, she looks, the presentation, and even the rogue and all that stuff is great. But and then even what she's wearing, like how she carries herself. But she
Yes.
actually knows how to speak, and she's speaking on point. It's not just that like, oh, she's rather pleasant. She actually, you know, she seems on top of her game to me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
go on,
mean,
Professor.
Yeah, I
Let's
mean,
hear more.
she has said some things in the past that could be controversial. You know, she's made some offhand remarks and stuff that have definitely upset some people on the left and the right. She is not a war hawk, so that just depends. You know, that depends on what administration you're trying to build. But she is definitely, you know, it was Eisenhower. I don't remember exactly what the phrasing was, but essentially said, you know, I hate war in only the way that a soldier has fought a war can hate a war. You know, like she says, you know, I don't want war because I have been, you know, I have been in combat, and that it's terrible. I don't want to send anyone into that kind of situation. So there's been some people that have been upset with her and her stances there. But yeah, let's continue. We can watch a little bit.
Let's continue. Let's hear more.
Attack on September 11th.
Sorry.
I think you did it like 0 speed.
Me to serve our country as the Director of National Intelligence at a time when trust in the intelligence community, unfortunately, is at an all-time low. Mandate and bring leadership to the intelligence community with a laser-like focus on our essential mission, ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. As the President's principal intelligence advisor, I'll begin by leading by example, checking my own personal views at the door, and committing to delivering intelligence that is collected, analyzed, and reported without bias, prejudice, or political influence. I enlisted in the Army because of the horrific terrorist attack on September 11th and volunteered to deploy to Iraq in 2005, where I served in a medical unit. After nearly 22 years in uniform with 3 combat deployments to the Middle East and Africa, I'm now a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve, where I serve as a battalion commander of soldiers in Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas. I served in Congress for 8 years on the Homeland Security, Foreign Affairs, and Armed Services committees. It's my experience in the military and in the halls of Congress that have given me a deep understanding of the complex challenges that our nation faces, in both roles engaging with world leaders, in both roles being privy to highly classified intelligence. So I know firsthand how essential accurate, unbiased, and timely intelligence is to the President, to Congress, and to our warfighters. I also know the heavy cost of intelligence failures and abuses. Senator Collins, you led the creation of ODNI specifically to address those intelligence failures of 9/11 and Iraq's so-called WMDs. The need for the ODNI under strong leadership still exists today. If confirmed, I'll bring my experience and fresh eyes to leading the intelligence community. And my day one priorities will be to assess the global threat environment, identify where gaps in our intelligence exist, integrate intelligence elements, increase information sharing, and ensure that unbiased, apolitical, objective collection and analysis to support the President and policymakers' decision-making occur. I'll work to end the politicization of the intelligence community and ensure there is a clear mission focus in the IC on its core mission of this unbiased, apolitical collection and analysis of intelligence to secure our nation. I'll work to rebuild trust through transparency and accountability. This is a national security imperative. And I'll work to assess and address efficiencies, redundancies, and effectiveness across ODNI to ensure focus of personnel and resources is on our core mission of national security. In my meetings that I've had with many of you, you expressed bipartisan frustration about recent intelligence failures, as well as the lack of responsiveness to your requests for information. Whether it's the surprise October 7th Hamas terrorist attack, to the sudden takeover of Syria by Islamist extremists, failures to identify the source of COVID, anomalous health incidents, UAPs, drones, and more. If confirmed, I look forward to working with you to address these issues. Ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people is a mandate of leadership that rises above partisan politics. If confirmed, my commitment to the President, to you, and to the American people is this: I will do my very best to find the truth, no matter where it leads, and share that truth with President Trump, his advisors, and you in Congress, providing you with that unbiased, timely, and accurate intelligence as you make the tough decisions that'll impact the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. Now, before I close, I want to warn the American people who are watching at home. You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States, accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters. The same tactic was used against President Trump and failed. The American people elected President Trump with a decisive victory and mandate for change. The fact is, what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet. I have no love for Assad or Gaddafi or any dictator. I just hate al-Qaeda. I hate that we have leaders who cozy up to Islamist extremists, minimizing them to so-called rebels. As Jake Sullivan said to Hillary Clinton, quote, al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria. Well, Syria is now controlled by an al-Qaeda offshoot, HTS, led by an Islamist jihadist who danced in the streets on 9/11 and who was responsible for the killing of many American service members. Democrat senators in the past resorted to anti-Christian bigotry against some of President Trump's judicial nominees like Amy Coney Barrett and Brian Boucher. I condemn those actions as a Democrat in Congress at the time, as religious bigotry must be thoroughly condemned by all of us, no matter the religion. Unfortunately, there are some Democrat senators who still don't understand the principle of freedom of religion and Article 6 of the Constitution. Quote, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Unfortunately, they're once again using the religious bigotry card, but this time trying to foment religious bigotry against Hindus and Hinduism. If anyone is sincerely interested in knowing more about my own personal spiritual path of Hinduism, I welcome you to go to my account on X, where I'll share more on this topic.
I think she spoke very nicely. I don't know. It doesn't even matter what she says as much as there's something about her that seems very kind of more sincere. I mean, obviously she's also a politician, but she speaks in a way that's a lot more direct. Like, she doesn't come off annoying to me when she speaks. She makes sense when she speaks. She's a good speaker.
Mm-hmm. And it's definitely how you carry yourself that that goes a long way. And she speaks with authority and knowledge. Yeah, she's good. I liked her first time I saw her, and then I never saw her again until everything went
Is this
crazy.
one of the people that we're trying to...
This is one of the... This is during her confirmation. This is a real quick clip here of someone just losing it.
Do you believe, as the chairman of this committee believes, as the vast majority of members of our intelligence agencies believe, that Edward Snowden was a traitor to the United States of America?
Senator, confirmed
This
as
is when the
Director of
rubber
National
hits the road.
Intelligence.
This is
I
when
will
this
work
is not
with you to make sure
this
that
is
there is
not
not
a
another
moment for
Snowden-like
social
leak.
media. It's not a moment to propagate theories, conspiracy theories, or attacks on journalism in the United States. This is when you need to answer the questions of the people whose votes you're asking for to be confirmed as the chief intelligence officer of this nation. As my colleague said, this is not about you. It's about the people that serve the intelligence agencies of the United States. Is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America? That is not a hard question to answer when the stakes are this high.
Senator, as someone who has
your
served
answer,
in
yes
uniform,
or no, is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America?
as someone who has
I'll go on
worn
to
our
my
questions.
questions.
In combat, I understand how critical our national security
Apparently
is.
you don't. Apparently you don't. Let me ask you. I've worked.
So yeah,
Why
just repeatedly talking over her, and again,
does she like Edward Snowden? I didn't understand from all of this.
I don't know specifically what her views on that are, but the trap of forcing a binary answer and not allowing for context, they use this every single time, and it is just simply not okay.
I mean,
it's not okay on any side. They just say like yes or no. You have to say yes or no. Did Donald Trump win the election in 2020? Did he win the election?
No. Listen,
yes
he's
no?
annoying,
yes
and
no?
he could at least let her speak, which I guess they're not interested in doing.
No.
What I will say is that I've never really been fond of Edward Snowden, to be honest with you. But that's my personal opinion.
By contrast, this guy is not a good speaker.
No, this guy is annoying, and I think you should just let her answer the question the way she wanted to answer it. But I was curious. I was curious to hear what her answer would be. You know what I mean? Did she ever get to answer it, or it didn't even happen?
No. I'm going to move on to my next question. You don't take security seriously because you won't answer my yes or no question the way that I want you to. So,
The thing with Snowden is that I feel like even if he did something that was positive, or he was trying to do something positive, there's something about the way he did it that doesn't sit well with me. Even if there was something underneath it that was positive, I guess.
I don't even remember all the details. I just
From what I remember, what happened with Snowden is that he knew that a lot of kind of that the government was doing a lot of intrusive stuff with privacy and things like that, and somehow, what exactly? Remember what he was sort of like a whistleblower, but he did it in a way that was annoying, in my opinion. Professor, do you remember what the deal was with him?
So yeah, there were some things that as a government contractor he had access to that were intelligence and stuff that had been collected. I honestly, it's been so long, I don't even remember what all of it was.
Right, it's been such a long time ago.
But
I think that at the time, and this is just, it's been so long because I'd have to dig back to see exactly what he did and what was the whole story with it. But I think that what he did was he was trying to highlight an issue that may have been a legitimate issue. Like his intentions may not have been bad in what he was trying to highlight, but from what I remember, the way he went about it was probably not the best way to go about it.
Yeah,
You know,
a lot of what he was trying to talk about were surveillance programs that were being used and spying on Americans. There was some other stuff in there too, but it was I think the thing that a lot of people got frustrated with was that when he tried, as you know, he disclosed these surveillance programs, and then like he fled to Hong Kong, and then he hid in Russia and stuff. And so a lot of people were, very upset by that. Like if he was genuinely a whistleblower, there's protections for that. And, he shouldn't have been going and trying to hide away in other countries.
But I heard, didn't
yeah,
it have something to do with like Obama was like, we'll protect whistleblowers, and then immediately he became like public enemy or something. I don't know. I don't remember how it went.
Yeah, all this was over a decade ago. It all happened back in 2013.
That was like yesterday.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened since then.
Somebody says, the dead man says, price of reason, Tulsi purposely dyes her hair that way to honor fallen soldiers. It's not real gray. I don't know, but I like it. Whatever it is, works for me. And I mean, I guess people have different feelings about Snowden and even Tulsi or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I understand.
Tulsi, I guess, has been supportive of Snowden and the leaks that he did, and so that's why they were asking him about that.
I see. I guess they know that, so that's why they're kind of sitting on her. What other controversial stuff do you think she said? Because you said that people from the right and from the left occasionally were annoyed with her. What would she say that
now that that was one of them. I'm trying to think of some other stuff, but honestly, it's a lot of it's happened and so long ago, and there's so many other things on top of my mind.
So. And then you have Kash Patel also.
Yes,
which he really, I don't know, he it was very kind of contentious the way he had his hearing today as well. No.
Yeah, during the confirmation, let's see if I can find anything here.
I actually watched part of that one, but I was just doing a few things. But I know,
that one I did not have the opportunity to watch.
He seemed very combative, and like I said, I dipped out later. He was using like the N word about, I think he was trying to say that people were calling him that, but he added the sand word to the N word. That makes sense. He was, saying something, but that already, I was just kind of seeing people reacting, and I was already, doing something else. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, I know his big thing is simply been like the need for reform in the FBI. That he believes it's become far too much of a tool for, political reprisals and political attacks on people. It's been weaponized against individuals who are just not popular with the current administration, and that was especially the case under our previous administration, where the FBI was used to investigate parents who showed up at school board meetings. Was used to investigate people praying outside of abortion clinics. It's all of that's very disturbing. And there's been some other things that have happened as well. So yeah, there's just so much just wild stuff. I did have one clip from RFK's some of his hearings. This one specifically was from yesterday. I don't know how many of them you saw.
I saw some of them, but
this one with Elizabeth Warren.
Oh yeah, that was a funny one. But show it. Yeah, that's a good one.
Get that one up here. So, just kind of having a meltdown here. Which Elizabeth Warren, by the way, also one of the people that's taken the most money from pharma. As in donations to her campaigns and stuff.
I comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You have said
You're asking me. You're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. Exactly what you're doing.
Look, no one should be fooled here. As Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undertake vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Senator, I support vaccines. I support the childhood schedule.
Yeah, just a lot of just completely losing it, right? And he'll have the power to do these things, and it's like, and how much of Native American blood do you have, madam?
It's a little unsettling hearing her say, I already lost it.
Well, and the way she said we would lose the ability to vaccinate his kids.
Your kids.
Your kids.
Like, go F yourself, woman. That should be a parental
work. Yeah. And he's been pretty clear in trying to clarify his stance on vaccines. He does not believe that all vaccines are dangerous and all vaccines are going to harm people. He does want more investigation into vaccines to be able to show that they are safe. And his belief has been that a lot of these studies have not been thorough in trying to study. And I'll be honest. I think in a lot of ways he's not right. There's a lot of other things that are probably a lot more important to think about than whether you think some trace of some tiny element, microscopic amounts of it in a vaccine is going to cause autism. I think there's absolutely no evidence that that's the case. But also saying that, like, hey, we should let people turn around and sue a vaccine manufacturer if they get a vaccine and they're harmed by it. I don't think that's a particularly controversial statement.
No, I don't see the immediate harm. What would happen if he would get this position? I think that maybe some of his beliefs are a bit eccentric, but I don't know. I think it'll be okay. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think. Prior to that, we had all these kind of Faucis walking around. I mean, at least this guy, maybe he asked too many questions, but he asked some questions. It's better than nothing, I guess.
And have you got something there from the cash hearings?
Yeah, I don't even know if this is good. I just saw something, so I'm just going to play it, and it's sort of like a surprise to me as well.
Before I call on...
Could you hear that?
Yep.
Sounded like the volume was low. Let me...
On Senator, before I call on Senator Lee,
could he just answer the question if he said that the FBI headquarters where they investigate cybercrime and terrorism should be shut down and opened as a deep state,
hey, Mr. Chair,
as a museum? Did he say that the headquarters should be shut down?
Mr. Chair,
I deserve an answer to that question. He is asking to be head of the FBI, and he said that their headquarters should be shut down.
Mr. Chair, parliamentary inquiry.
You got anything you want to say, Mr. Patel, before I go on to Senator Lee?
Simply this. If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Mr. Chairman, I am quoting his own words from September of 2024. It is his own words. It is not some conspiracy. It is what Mr. Patel actually said himself. Facts matter.
You forget that you had 3 minutes in the next round to say what you just said.
Okay, I'll say them again.
Okay.
Why do so many of these characters sound like warbly fish voiced aliens?
Some of these senators are really, I don't know. You sometimes wonder how they even became senators.
I don't know. Who voted for them?
Exactly. But yeah, I actually think I saw that part that we saw now. I saw it live. You know, I think that anytime you have these kind of confirmation things, they always get ugly. But I feel like every 4 years they get even uglier. And now with Trump and how much they hate Trump and how how much they're trying to push back, I think it's become even more of a pushback than we're used to seeing, I guess.
Probably. Bunch of criminals don't want to be called out.
No, and they also just in principle, they are just opposed to anyone that Trump were to nominate.
And I think that even though they don't want to say this, the fact that two of these three people are basically Democrats that have crossed the line to join him, that probably annoys them even more. Like, if they had a motivation to do all of this is like an extra layer of motivation. But if those people left their party and now they're doing something else, they have themselves to blame for how things went there. The situation that they're in now is their doing. I mean, they've made, even if I'm trying to be objective as a party, they've made a lot of mistakes, and especially in recent years, and especially with these elections. And I don't know, I guess this is their passive-aggressive way of dealing with it, in addition to the fact that they just don't like Trump and they don't want to let him have any confirmations and all that stuff. There's more like TDS than usual here.
I think this last week has been very, very hard for them. Last couple of weeks.
Yeah, since you got sworn in, probably since the election, but then since he got sworn in, and then he came in and he's just doing all these executive orders, and some people are like, oh, the executive orders don't matter. It's not going to have, it doesn't matter. But it does matter, because I think that the fact that he did so many of them so quickly, even if now it's going to be some big legal battle and a lot of stuff, he made his intentions very clear. And I think that there are already companies and already places and already other countries. There's a psychological effect. And I think we talked about this last time, that there were 4 years where it looked like there wasn't really a president sitting here. It looked like there was some older guy that was sort of not on top of his game, seemed kind of confused. And I think a lot of people wanted to take advantage of that. You think it doesn't matter, but it does matter. Psychologically, when you see a guy who wants to do a million things and he's in your face and he does all this stuff versus a guy that he never even comes out to say more than 3 words and he looks like he's confused while talking, that's a big difference. And I think that in the week, whatever it is, since Trump has been here, he just keeps doing more and more and more stuff, just doing stuff. Maybe it's too much, I don't know, but it's at least he's doing something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I assume that he's doing so much initially because at least some of it will stick. That's what he probably figures, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's part of it. And again, he promised he would do certain things when he got into office, and he's been doing his best to try and keep a lot of those promises. Now, whether his executive orders actually end up, like you said, sticking, right? If they actually are there, I think is outside the point. He's proving to his base that he's willing to go out there and do the stuff that he said he would do. And if those get shot down in court, or if there's something that gets passed by Congress that changes things, that doesn't change the fact that he actually did step up and do what he said he'd do. So I think that's his view on it. And what's he really got to lose in trying to keep his promises as best he can through executive order. Now, again, I am not fond of the idea of the imperial presidency, of this stuff that's been just slowly growing over the last few terms, both in Trump's first term and in Obama's time in office, as well as Biden's. Of this pattern of, well, we're not going to get it done in Congress, so let's just add more executive orders. Let's add just executive orders. It's frustrating because that's not how the government is supposed to work. But of course,
it used to be that there used to be real bipartisan efforts and people doing stuff. Now it's just like a game. It's like a war between two groups of people, and it's become a kind of ugly war. And you're right. This is before Trump also. It had to do with Obama's terms, and it's been heading in this direction for a long time now.
Yeah. And, hopefully, again, you've got one party right now that, at least in numbers, in quantitative in a quantitative sense, has control of all three, the two legislative branches and the presidency. And so if they can come together and agree on some stuff, they could actually get some stuff passed through Congress, which is going to have a lot more weight with having gone through the legislative branch than just executive orders. Hopefully that can happen. Executive orders are limited in what they can do, especially a bunch of the executive orders that have come around since you have Trump coming into office. A bunch of executive orders are literally just turning off, disregarding the executive orders of the previous president. And when Biden came in after Trump, he had a bunch of executive orders that their whole purpose was just disregarding the stuff that Trump did in his first term. And so it's extremely frustrating.
Is there any solution to it? Because that doesn't seem very healthy long term, regardless of Trump or not Trump.
It's absolutely not. I mean, we have a federal government that's been virtually paralyzed for quite some time because they're not. The legislature is not actually working like it's supposed to. They are no longer a deliberative body that's working together to try and find solutions. There's so much polarization that if one side gives just a little bit, they're called traitors. And if the other side gives a little bit, then the same happens. And then people that are going across the aisle and who are willing to work together and make deals on a lot of different things, then the same thing, they're disregarded, and then they're like, oh well, if you support that, then we're going to primary you in the next election. You're not going to have a chance to get reelected. We're going to challenge, we're not going to support you, so it's just this self-perpetuating thing that just continues to go on, and it doesn't help. It seriously does not help that we have these that we now have senators, even members of the House, who literally the moment they're elected, their only concern is getting reelected. It's the only concern they have. And that all comes back to not having term limits for members of Congress. I don't think those term limits need to be wildly restrictive. 4 terms, perhaps 5 terms. That would have people that would be in there for a while. You could go even a little bit lower if you wanted to, but I don't think they have to be wildly restrictive, like just saying, oh, you get 2 terms and you're out. But at the same time, having some term limits in there is going to allow some people. Sure, they'll have a term to kind of start understanding how things work and start building relationships, but they're going to understand they've got a limited amount of time that they're going to be there, and they're not going to get to sit there and become multi-millionaires
Right.
after a 50-year career.
Right.
In
I
politics.
agree with you. I think that there has to be something has to change. We forget sometimes. First of all, Texas Ranch Rock says Obama said, "I had a phone and a pen."
Yep.
Did he say that?
Yep.
So I guess what I'm saying is that I think that this system that was put together hundreds of years ago, it was very suitable for what was happening then. But sometimes things change, the way society is, the way media is, the way the world is. And I think that today, some of those things that may have made sense then don't make as much sense now. And if you put a person in a position for, like you said, for 50 years, it's very hard that person doesn't, start becoming very comfortable in that position and start doing things that are kind of slippery and maybe not. Lines are crossed when you have that kind of power. There's that saying that power corrupts, and when you have that kind of power and for so many years, sometimes it's human nature. You just don't want to put somebody in that kind of position. You want to give them less time, let them do their job, and then if they want to go make millions, like you said, they can go do it in the private sector, not at the expense of the public.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like any of them have any interest in public service anymore.
The dead man is suggesting 12 years for both houses. That's fine.
Yeah. If you were to say two terms for the Senate, that would be 12 years. If you said 3, that would be 18. I think 3 would be reasonable. 2 is reasonable as well. If you're talking about the House, they're 2-year terms, and so yeah, that would be quite a few more in the House. But the House tends to turn over a lot more often than the Senate anyway. So yeah, it's the Senate where you've got people who are in there that you swear they're being kept alive by a pact they've made with some sort of unearthly being or something, because they're incredibly old and crippled. Some of them are in the memory unit in some some old age home in Texas, and it's like that's not healthy to have these people that are there serving in the Senate for 30-40 years.
By the way, I see that Estefobos sent a super chat that he wrote, "Tulsi is bad for vegetarians. No word salad." I agree with that. I think that she's very well spoken. She sounded very confident in the way she delivered it. I actually like that. Ace Hanlon is a member for 1 month. Thank you, Ace Hanlon. Thank you very much. Appreciate all the leapers. That's what they're called, people that are subscribing to this channel. They're leapers. And there's a nice little shield you get. By the way, I don't know if anybody noticed, but the more time you're here, the shield changes colors.
Yes.
So there's different colors of shield. I don't know if anybody noticed this. Although I appreciate any color of any shield, but just so you know that like the shield goes and changes in its color over time. And
and then we've got we get supporters that show up and start handing out shields left and right.
That's true too. The dead man says poop emoji. Did he say poop emoji, or I'm trying to see? Let me see for a second. He said it. He didn't send it. Okay.
He wasn't sure how to type out the poop emoji, so he just typed it.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We got you. But so in any case, what was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to solve anything as far as these confirmation hearings go. He'll probably get pushback for some people, and some of these Republicans are also, in bed with those kind of pharma companies. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. My gamble was actually that I thought that RFK and Kash Patel would be confirmed, and I thought for some reason Tulsi Gabbard wouldn't, but who knows? I think he'll get 2 out of 3. I'm not sure. I think that Kash Patel, it'll be difficult for them not to push through, and I think that RFK and Tulsi, at least one of those they could maybe get rid of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's I would say probably the one that's going to be the most difficult to get through would probably be RFK. I think there's a lot of people that have questions about some of the things he's said, some of the stances that he's taken over the years. He has been pretty fringe on a lot of science, over the years. I agree with him in some things, and in other things, I feel like maybe he's gone a little too far off the reservation. So I don't think he's a bad man. I do not think that at all. I really think that he has a lot of strong convictions. But yeah, there's definitely some positions he's taken over the years that are going to give some senators pause before they're going to be moving to confirm him.
You may be right. Marla Sharandov says she didn't notice the shield color changes. Yes, it does change. And 6, I guess, she gave us a poop emoji. Thank you, 6.
I really want RFK to just gut the food industry and make everything healthy again. I want them to blowtorch every one of these departments that they're trying to get confirmed for.
Yeah, I mean, even if he doesn't get confirmed, I have a feeling that Trump might have some other ideas for like some sort of commission or something that he can put together to work on some of those like food safety, food and health issues and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think some of the stuff that he's talked about there is some of the things where he's the most on the money with what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We have an incredibly unhealthy food system here in the U.S. and there's a lot of promotion of ingredients and processes, highly processed foods and stuff they're deeply unhealthy, especially for the young people in our country. And so, yeah, there's a lot of that I think that deserves getting taken another look at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess there's that. There was also something, that came up. Let me try for a second. Professor, tell a joke or something.
Let's see. Tell a joke. Sean, why does nobody tell jokes about pizza?
I don't know. I do not know.
They're just too cheesy.
Ugh. Yeah. Well, what's a pirate's favorite letter?
R?
You'd think it was the R, but it's really the C.
Oh, first of all, before I do anything, I wanna look at this thing. I want to thank. It's actually 6 brought this to my attention, and I wanted to share it. I think that this is actually an answer to what we were. She was basically trying to answer our question. Give me 1 second. Are you there?
1.
Yeah.
You told jokes?
Yeah, you missed them.
Yeah, we told some jokes.
Okay. You told jokes, you're sure? Okay.
What kind of keys are tasty?
So this is, I guess,
we're doing a lot of
I guess this is, can you hear this?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
to Gabbard today, but truth be told, very few of you know her. I tried to learn a little bit more about her, starting with her ability to surf. What's the biggest wave you ever surfed?
Probably double overhead. So as high as I am, plus times 2.
And you made it?
I made it. I've eaten it on many of those too, but I have made some of them, yes.
So may I ask you about the hair streak? Is it a birthmark? I always
It's
think
not
of
a birthmark.
Poltergeist when I see it. I don't remember that scene from that movie, but no, I mean, can you tell us what it's from?
See, my generation would say it's more of like Rogue from X-Men than Poltergeist. Not trying to.
I'm aging myself.
You are, actually.
What?
It's I started to gray in that spot actually during and after my first deployment to Iraq, and it's just something that I've chosen to keep as a reminder of every day of the cost of war and the importance of peace and who pays the price for war.
We learned while on site in Nashua that in the audience today was a man who served with her in Iraq. His name is Christopher Tortolot. And as we leave you tonight, here's a little bit of the exchange between the two veterans. We hope you have a great night, everybody. I'm Brian Shackman, and this is Primary Source.
He was a first sergeant of a unit during our second deployment where someone did not come home. One of his soldiers did not come home.
Wear it every day.
Swisslin Walters. And so someone caught an image of us just on that day at that moment, sharing a hug. And I wanted to share that with people because this is the human cost of war that we should never, ever forget.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. Tulsi, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
It is shocking to me that she is the same age as me.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. She seems likable enough to me. I mean, again, yeah, I'm sure there's people that can say she said this, she said that. Even I'll tell you that I have my own feelings about Snowden. Like I said, I think that he was trying to do something important, but I didn't like the way. That's what I remember at the time, that I didn't like the way he went about it. I don't know if he had a different course of action. I've always had mixed feelings about him, to put it mildly. But even if she feels differently on that specific topic, she still comes off to me as a very serious person. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep.
What is it? Adam Gray saying, "Oh God, please make her stop faking the veteran card." Are we talking about her? I don't know.
Tulsi, yeah. There's some they've been upset with some comments she's made in the past about some veterans, and there's been some concerns about like whistleblowers that in the military and stuff, and comments she's made about them. I couldn't speak exactly to what it is that Adam is referring to, but yeah, there's been some people who've been upset with some of the things that she's said in the past. And there's been some people that have also been upset with her stance on Russia and some other things. So I mean, yeah, there's reasons for for people to dislike different people. I'm not going to discount those. It's just different experiences, different perspectives, and we've all got them. So yeah,
that's fine. Listen, people have different opinions.
Yeah,
you can only say that to me she makes like a good impression in general, even though I'm sure there's stuff that I don't agree with her on. UK Gamer says, I served, I lost friends to bad intel. I had to leave because of injuries due to bad intel. If she gets the job and it saves war fighters, then who cares about personality? Yeah, people have different opinions, but the fact that maybe not everybody feels the same way about her, even in our chat here, that's why I thought that actually she would be the one that wouldn't be confirmed, even though she may be the one that seems the most serious to me. But
yeah,
we'll see what
and
happens.
Again, that's entirely possible. It's all going to come down to the impression that she makes on some of the people there, and their overall feelings about her and her past, and a lot of that stuff. Arjun says you should be skeptical of any politician. You're not wrong. Politicians are going to do what they need to do to get themselves elected, get themselves in the position that they want. And that's always, always concerning. There's the old the old saying about the president. Anyone who wants the job should by no means be allowed to hold that office. That seems to go for a lot of politicians. So it's complex issues. So yeah, we always have to give each other a little bit of grace and understand that everybody's got some different perspectives on it. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see with the confirmations. Tulsi might be a tough one to get across. I don't seem to feel that Kash Patel is going to be a particularly difficult one to get across the.
No, I actually think he's going to be okay, but I don't know about the other ones.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to wait and see on some of those other confirmations. So
hold on one second. Let's see. We may have somebody joining us shortly. I guess we'll quickly. The reason why I wanted to bring this next guest on is there's this whole thing with this helicopter, and
Oh, yeah.
that's a tragedy. But I still am trying to sort of understand what exactly happened there. So there was like a United Airlines flight, and there was a helicopter, correct?
Yes. It
And the
was
helicopter.
not United, American Eagle.
Oh, sorry, United. In any case, there was a crash apparently, and there's no survivors from that, correct?
No, there are no survivors. Unfortunately,
Did
no. It's
did it
very
fall?
tragic.
Did it
Very
fall in the
tragic.
river? I mean, what?
Yes, it fell into the Potomac. It wasn't particularly deep water, but obviously, the fall from that height, and it's far enough into the water that anyone who might have been in there was that probably would have drowned before they
you
would
guys
have
hear me?
been able to get loose. So, yes, it's Phobos. We can hear you.
Okay. I have the boring green eye.
Yes.
Here, I added you here so people can see you.
You got your little icon floating up there.
Yeah.
Just hovering in the spaceship there above Price's head. New spaceship today, by the way, Price. And
It is a new spaceship.
You switched.
Yeah.
You switched yet again. You're trying out a lot of different ships lately.
Trying out. I actually like the spaceship better. This one looks cool.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah.
Just so everyone knows, I've been flying airplanes since the late 1980s. I've got a lot of friends in aviation, a little bit of helicopter experience, and I've been sort of on this story all day since I woke up this morning and heard what happened.
And that's actually why I invited you, Phobos, because he and I were DMing, and he's shared with me privately some of his background. Not all of it we talk about it here because people also like their privacy, but the experiences Phobos has when it comes to aviation, his past and things that he's done, without really getting into specific details, and the fact that he's also flown helicopters. Just the conversation I had with him, I could see that he really understood a lot about this accident, things that even your average person in the sort of mainstream media or even us don't really understand. So I thought to myself, rather than him just trying to explain it to me via DMs, maybe he can hang out with us and try to explain it to all of us, because he had a lot of really interesting things to say. And now I'll give it back, give back the talking to Phobos.
Okay. Thank you, Price. We have to talk about Swiss cheese. The NTSB, which investigates plane crashes, they sort of examine events based on a model of Swiss cheese. I know it sounds funny, but it's actually called the Swiss cheese model. They have multiple layers of safety for all eventualities. But each layer is like a piece of Swiss cheese, and it's going to have holes. But if you stack enough pieces of cheese together, you're not going to be able to get through them. But every now and then, the holes in the Swiss cheese align perfectly across many sort of events. And that's when you sort of have a disaster. Now, one of the things we've been hearing over the last couple of months, there have been 150 million flight hours without an accident since 2009 in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, I think that's 150 million flights. And so that's even more hours. But I'm sort of hearing with my sort of aviation pals that the number of close calls has been pretty scary, and that there are maybe 2 or 3 a week. And people that know what they're talking about, we're kind of thinking this is bound to happen. This is going to happen. And there's sort of a lot of things all happening at once, including we have a massive shortage of air traffic controllers in the United States, of qualified air traffic controllers. We also have a couple lawsuits of air traffic controllers claiming that they were denied jobs based on their race. So we know what that means. And I don't want to come out of the gate and blame DEI on this, but I mean, there are lawsuits with heavy receipts in progress right now claiming that guys weren't getting hired during a time when we need more.
Mm-hmm.
So I checked out the layers of Swiss cheese, sort of, kind of just from the information I was able to gather, and I'm not sure. So, at approximately 9:00, a CRJ 700, which is called a Bombardier American Airlines regional carrier. Now, regionals are smaller than the big airlines.
Mm-hmm.
They collided with a Sikorsky UH-60, which is a Black Hawk attack helicopter. They were coming from Wichita, the Bombardier, and that's kind of a long flight for a regional. So the guys were probably kind of tired, even though they're experienced. So it was a long flight. During their final approach on runway 01, at the last minute, they were asked to sidestep over to runway 33, which is about 30 degrees off axis from runway 1. Now, that's not unusual in itself. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
They've already planned and flight planned for the weight and balance of multiple runways and multiple approaches. But if they hadn't hadn't done the circle to land, they also call it circle to land. If they hadn't done that, so it was also night. It was clear, but it's still night. And it's over a big city, an airport very close to downtown DC. So the lights of an airplane can blend in with the lights of the city in the background. And it's not always so easy. Now, I've heard conflicting reports about night vision gear being used in the helicopter, but this was a training flight. So normally, you wouldn't use night vision gear in this close proximity to a big city. You get something called bloom, where it just sort of burns out your eyesight. So if they were wearing night vision goggles, it also cuts down your peripheral vision by about 50%. So your situational awareness isn't as quite on top of what it may be. Plus, it's a training flight, so they have all this other stuff that they're having to do. But it's important to note that the helicopter was not where it was supposed to be. It was not in the established helicopter route. They were on Route 1, which edges the left bank of the Potomac. And you're supposed to be under 200 feet when you're in that pre-established helicopter route.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Just because I think some people are curious. Obviously, you are understanding every detail of what you're saying, but I want to make sure everybody is following.
Oh, yeah.
You think that out of the two, the helicopter seems to be something that you're more suspicious of.
Oh, absolutely. Like, there is no doubt the people on the American Airlines flight, they were exactly where they were supposed to be at all times. They did everything correctly. They are not to blame whatsoever, except when you're the pilot, when you sign out that plane, you're in command. The buck stops there. So when air traffic control gives you a command and asks you to do something, if you don't think you can do it, if you don't think it's safe, you have the authority to override them. The final word is left with the pilot, always. That's like the number one. Well, the number one rule in aviation is to not hit anything in the air. And the number 2 rule is don't hit anything on the ground. But the number 3 rule is the buck stops with the pilot.
Do you think that the United Eagle, I don't know, whatever thing you said, the whatever commercial flight that was, do you think
American
that
Airlines?
It was American Airlines? Okay.
Yeah.
American Airlines, could they have done something differently, do you think?
Yes, but they had no reason to suspect they had to. And that was, they could have continued their instrument approach to runway 33. But here it's important to note the DC airport, it's small and it's one of the most congested airports in the country inside of one of the most complex airspaces we have.
Yeah, it's wildly crowded in that airspace. It really is.
I'm old. We used to call that a tower control area, but now it's called Class Bravo airspace. But there's some bubbles of Class Alpha, Class A airspace. That's restricted airspace because you got the Pentagon, you got the White House, you got the Capitol. It's really a maze. It's the worst place to have the most traffic, and it's the absolute worst place to have a shortage of air traffic controllers. And this broke in the middle of the afternoon. that they were short-staffed in the tower. And I don't care whatever airport is around Reagan, DCA, we call it. Every airport has a 3-letter code. They should have moved somebody down there. That's the last airport in the country that you want to have a shortage of air traffic controllers. And that's another hole in the Swiss cheese.
Yep.
The guy directing them probably was doing too many things at once that he shouldn't have had to.
And the helicopter, what was it doing? How did they end up doing this thing, which you seem to think that they're... Okay, let's put it this way. When there's a car accident, sometimes with insurance companies, they'll say this guy is like 90% responsible, this guy is 10% responsible. You seem to think, from what I understand, that the helicopter is more responsible than the other parties in this.
Yes, but ATC has some blame here too. But it's kind of the law of the air that it's always on the pilot who's not where he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other things that happened. And I can explain sort of why and what likely went wrong, although nobody knows. They did just collect both black boxes a couple hours ago. They found them from the Potomac. And so far, there are still no actual survivors.
Yeah. It's unlikely that they'll be recovering any survivivors. It's deeply sad. It's unfortunate. Yes, and someone was saying something about being black ops. It was not black ops. This was a training flight. There were only 3 people on board. That would confirm pretty well that this was simply a training flight.
Yeah, and it was published, and they had their transponder on.
Yeah,
it was public.
So yeah, it was not some helicopter flying without an identifier. Doing wild and crazy things. It was out of position from what I was reading, and I also saw another pilot who's a former military who was saying that his best guess in what he could see from the telemetry that we have from radar and from seeing the video was that perhaps the helicopter pilot, because I guess he was given some instruction right before the accident to avoid another flight, and that perhaps he saw one plane and thought it was another plane and was not aware of the one that they ended up striking. And that's obviously that's just guess. That's just a guess from someone looking at what they're seeing in this situation. But I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, there was an outgoing flight close on the similar heading, about 5 nautical miles out. And that's one of the errors that happened. I want to address something that Six said. She's kind of not clear on what I'm saying, which is my opinion and which is fact. I'll try to be a little more clear. If I'm talking about like where the planes were and what actually happened, that's the best information available. Other things are going to be my opinion based on 30 plus years of flying airplanes. So I will try to. I don't think so far I've said a lot about what's opinion. I mean, the NTSB has a long history of investigating these kind of things, and we sort of know how they assign blame and how they put together their Swiss cheese model, which is exactly what they call it. One of the things you asked me, Price, is like everybody wants to know who's to blame, and that's the thing. Every layer of cheese is kind of to blame, because if any one of them wasn't lined up, the accident wouldn't have happened.
I also, like I was telling you, I feel like it's probably a situation where there's one party that maybe has more of the blame, but in a way, every party has some of the blame, even if it's a little. Because like you said, the pilot, even of the airplane, at the end, the buck stops with him. He can decide to do something differently. Maybe the people at the tower were understaffed and didn't relay the right things to the people when they needed to, and the helicopter wasn't where it needed to be. But it seems like out of the 3 parties that maybe any of them could have done something wrong, the one that probably was the most, like you said, not where they needed to be is the helicopter. So I suspect that that's the one that's going to get the majority of the finger pointing, no matter what they find.
Yeah, definitely. And this is fact. About 30 seconds before the collision, the helicopter climbed from 200 feet above ground level to 300 feet above ground level, which you are not supposed to do if you're flying that helicopter route, which was pre-established. The suspicion is he must have climbed because he thought he was avoiding the airplane, and they think, as Professor R2 said, that he did say he had eyes on and maintain visual, and those are legal terms, that visual and maintain. They think he was looking at the wrong airplane.
Yeah.
And so he climbed out of the route. And listen, the Black Hawk can go about 200. I'll say they use knots. They use not indicated airspeed, but I'll just say miles per hour for the audience. A Black Hawk has a top speed of about 200 miles an hour. It was probably cruising, which is around 140, and the approach speed of a Bombardier is about 138 miles an hour. So if you imagine doing that in two cars coming from different directions, like, it's hard to hit on purpose. Now, if you bring altitude into it, I mean, it's definitely hard. I've never really been in a demolition derby, but at those speeds, it's just mind-boggling, all of the coincidences that had to come together to create the collision. Because if they were trying to hit each other, it's just not that easy. I don't think they're trying to hit each other. I just want to say, so the helicopter climbed out of the route, and the thing that would have saved everybody is if both aircraft were on the same frequency. And this is a big one, and this is something pilots have talked about a lot. Military pilots have their own frequency. This is tradition coming back from the 60s, but that's back when the radios were big and heavy, and the rationale for that is they didn't have the weight to carry additional equipment to be on the same frequency as civilian flights. But that hasn't been a factor since the 70s, but they've never changed. They've never changed that policy, that tradition. The problem is when each guy is talking, they have to interpret through the air traffic controller because the pilots can't hear each other. And if they were able to talk to each other, the pilot of the helicopter might have known that he had he had visual confirmation on the wrong aircraft.
Yeah.
And the plane might have been able to, reduce its descent, do a go around and circle and come back and land safely. So that's one of the Swiss cheese pieces too. The fact that the pilots involved in the collision weren't on the same frequency.
I see.
They have something called ATACS, which stands for Air Traffic Collision Avoidance System. But that automatically turns off under 1,000 feet because when you're landing, it's going to see a bunch of stuff and you don't want it to get confused. It gives verbal suggestions of adjustments up to 500 feet AGL. But they were at about 200, between 200 and 300 feet above the ground. So
yeah,
that's another piece of Swiss cheese that the ATACS was not operating.
Yeah, and it's likely, with the radar indicated altitudes and everything that we have, that the pilot of the airliner likely did not see that helicopter before the collision. If they were coming up at the angle they were and coming up from a lower altitude, it's entirely possible that he did not.
By the way, I have Nudik asked if the helicopter pilot was a man.
I honestly, I don't know, but I can almost guarantee you the pilot didn't see the helicopter because he was focused on the approach.
Yeah.
Now, the first officer was on the side that the helicopter was coming from. He may or may not have, but they have stuff to do too. And because they changed the flight, they changed the runway at the last minute. That means more work for them. They had to recalculate. A jumbo jet needs 8,000 feet to land. A sort of middle jet, like a 737, can do it in 7,000. The big runway at DCA is only 7,000 feet, and the little one they moved to was 5,000 feet. So that changes their approach calculations, and that gave them, more to do when they sidestepped to that runway. 5,000 feet is not a very, for a jet, it's not a long runway.
Six is asking, how many aircraft is one traffic controller keeping track of at any given moment, or are they assigned a specific area in the sky to monitor?
From what I can tell, they're assigned specific aircraft, and the number varies depending upon what's in the pattern and who's available. It sounds like this guy had more on his plate than he needed to, obviously. But remember, the reason they probably got moved was to shorten the distance. They have a lot of planes going in and out of that airport, and they're trying to move them as efficiently as possible, which means to minimize the distance between as many planes as possible. So I don't really know. I don't really know what the controller had in terms of his responsibilities at the moment. But if you listen to, you can go online and hear all of the transmissions. He sounded a little busy, and he didn't call for visual confirmation until very close to the collision. That's another piece of the cheese. He could easily see on the radar that they were headed towards each other, but he waited about 25 seconds before he confirmed with the helicopter pilot that he had visual and maintained distance. But the helicopter pilot confirmed that he did, and once he does that, responsibility is off of the controller. It becomes a VFR, it becomes visual, and it's up to the helicopter pilot to keep his distance. But if he had the wrong plane in sight, there's no definitive way to confirm that what he sees is what you see.
Yep. That's something that we are not going to have from any flight recorders. We're not going to have any sort of dash cams. That's just not how it works. And so all we really have is, we've got all of the records, the radar. We've got the visuals from cameras in the area, which aren't particularly reliable, but there's value there. And then we've got the radio, transmissions back and forth, and we'll get whatever telemetry and stuff comes off of those black boxes. But I think in the end, there's not going to be a lot of answers, unfortunately, for why this occurred.
UK Gamer says, was the film Tin Cup accurate to the workings of a civilian ATC?
God, I hope not. I mean, I've been in the tower at a medium-sized airport, like the second largest one in Georgia. It's pretty tame. I've landed at some big airports, but I'm flying a small plane and they land you off to the side. You're not on the big runways, but I would hope that movie is quite dramatized from reality. I want to, why don't we have dash cams? We certainly have the technology now. I think we need to put some dash cams in with the black box.
You're probably right.
Well, yeah.
I've always been suspicious of those black boxes.
I want to tell you something a pilot friend of mine said, and all right, this is a little bit a tinfoil hat moment.
But black boxes ain't worth shit. Sorry, Sean.
No, I'm warning you, this is a little weird, but he's like, we won't know what really happened until we find out who died on the plane.
What do you mean?
That's the tinfoil hat theory.
I have heard similar tinfoil hat talk before, saying that the airplanes have such an incredible record of being so safe that if there's any sort of airplane, if there's an accident, there's a crash, planes that are lost, without explanation, that all of those are targeted. Let's say.
Right. I mean, the only thing I can tell, the only thing I feel like in tinfoil myself, and I probably shouldn't be saying this. I'll regret even saying what I'm about to say, and I feel terrible. I probably shouldn't say it. I'll say it anyways, but I regret saying it already. Like, I want to preempt whatever I'm about to say with regret. When it's like, it said something that there were these two Russian figure skater champions that somehow after they won their medals, they came to the U.S. and were doing stuff here. I'm not saying that those are considered people that sort of defected or whatever it is. I just thought to myself, oh, so like, I just thought about it. It crossed my mind, and then I thought, you're such a tinfoil theory person. How dare you think of such a thing? But that was the one thing that crossed my mind, that they were sort of Russian, and then I don't know. Probably shouldn't say any of this, but those guys kind of popped up. But maybe there were other people on this plane.
Yeah, there were 2 Chinese nationals on the plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm
But
sure
we
there were
don't know.
children. Yeah, I'm sure there were
Yeah.
children and
Yeah.
grandparents, and it's
Well,
just
I mean,
terrible.
whatever the case may be, this is obviously a tragedy. So I'm not turning into a tinfoil. But like you said, my logic initially, without really knowing any details, I'm like, was somebody kind of purposely looking at this plane for any reason? It's a human instinct to think such a thing. So as much as it does sound a bit tinfoil, I had a similar feeling. Just as an instinct, I thought to myself while I was thinking it, and this was not on a show or anything. I was just thinking with myself. I'm like, stop thinking this. It's not nice that you're thinking that. But I couldn't help myself, and I still thought it. But I'm only human. I don't know what happened.
Especially around DC, where nothing is really what it seems. I mean, let's be real about that.
True.
I feel like there's easier ways of taking out people on a plane than lining up a helicopter.
Yeah, I don't know, but you know, we've even seen movies like this. I don't know. I recall maybe it was Narcos or something like that. I think it was Narcos, that somebody was going on a plane, and maybe it was Pablo Escobar that didn't want that guy to get on that plane and do whatever they was going to do. And I vaguely recall that he took down the plane. And I think that maybe it's based on something that actually happened. So it's not like people don't do this kind of thing. That this has happened before. The question is if this was just an innocent accident and just a breakdown in communication between all the parties involved, or if there was something else here. But at the same time, the helicopter that would have crashed into this plane, it's not like there's any survivors there.
Mm.
It has to be some very specific thing if there's no survivors anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
They've been flying helicopters remotely since the 70s.
Yeah, there you go. Because I was going to say, like, how do
That's
you
also true.
How do you convince somebody to take that kind of a mission?
Right, but wait a second. So you think they theoretically, and this is the tinfoil theory type of thing, you think that it's like, you know, kind of like Die Hard 2, where somebody would intercept what that helicopter is doing, where it's going, and somehow interfere?
Well, no, I think it was a terrible accident. And my dad used to tell me something. I'd be like, it's not my fault. And he goes, that's why they call them accidents. I think that's what it was. But if I was writing a novelization of this, I don't think it was intercepted. There would have been no one on the helicopter to begin with. And the way you talk the guys into doing that mission is put them safe 200 feet in the underground bunker. That's how you make them okay with the mission. But no, I don't think that's what happened. But I also don't trust anything coming out of Washington, D.C. But I do trust the NTSB. I know people who work there. I know hundreds of pilots and controllers. We're a real close-knit group. And whenever there's a tragedy like this, we all sort of lean on each other. There's some great YouTube channels. Can I put a shout out to some of them?
I guess, yeah, go ahead.
Well, you can start at VAS Aviation, Victor Alpha Sierra Aviation. That's a great one to start. And he'll guide you and recommend you toward the people that make available the air traffic control recordings. And there's a guy that does 3D maps. Like, I don't know how long ago this was, but a passenger tried to get off the plane through the emergency exit right when they were taxiing for takeoff. And it caused like a traffic jam of 3 jumbo jets. And you can see the radar and the photos from the tower and hear everything going on between the tower. It's kind of funny because pilots tend to kind of have a sick sense of humor too. So he's like, I'm not going to let you guys hold tight. We're not going to move with someone on the runway. And the pilot goes, or we could just let nature take its course. So that's what pilots are. I mean, you have to be a little bit crazy to fly a plane, you know?
How long do you think it'll take before there's some kind of real answers where somebody gives real analysis to what happened?
2 years.
It takes a very long. Yeah, these investigations take a very long time. Even some of the ones that seem more open and shut It takes a while because they're extremely thorough. I actually I was not involved. I was connected to some people a long time ago. There was an airplane accident with some players from Oklahoma State University, and I'm actually from Stillwater. And I knew some of the people at the university who were coordinating with the NTSB as part of the organization of doing that investigation. And some of them were deeply frustrated by how long it was taking. And it was simply stated to them that we will not give you a conclusion until we know it is the very best, and that there's no other conclusion that we could come to.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so
sorry.
this is it's going to take time. And for that particular investigation, it was over a year, but it was it was pretty obvious what had happened. There had been icing on the plane in a storm that had compromised the ability of that plane to stay in the air. But yeah, it was a full year. But I think before they came back with their final solutions and final understanding of exactly what happened. So
yeah, there will be interim reports, and there'll be stuff that comes out and leaked, but the investigators are the most methodical, detail-oriented, precise people you'll ever meet. And unlike us civilian assholes, they do not jump to conclusions, and they're not going to sign off on anything until they're sure it's the absolute best conclusion made on the best evaluation of the most data that they've been able to gather. I mean, it will take them months just to reassemble the vehicles in a hangar. They take every piece they find and they put them all together.
I see. Well, it doesn't look like we're going to solve this tonight, but maybe we can sort of shift gears. And Istophobos, you're welcome to stay here. There's been a lot of strange things going on. I think now it's almost like a rapid round, and it's going to be lighter fare. We had the confirmations, we had this tragedy with the airplanes, and we're going to shift the mood to something just a bit lighter. I mean, lighter. It's stuff that happened today, but I think won't be as sad and tragic as this plane thing. So, Istophobos, you're welcome to stay. We're going to do some rapid things. Are you on board?
Yeah. I just want, nobody can see what's on my screen, right?
No.
Okay, then I'll stay. That's good.
I don't understand what that means. What was on your screen? Was it like you were watching naughty videos? What were you doing?
I'm a big fan of the Baywatch movie.
Are you really watching the Baywatch movie in the background?
I kind of have a slideshow of stills from it. Yeah.
It's okay. It's more information than we needed. It's the Phobos.
You asked. I wasn't going to tell.
It's okay. So let's start with this. You have, let me see if I can find this. And this is on our thumbnail. There was some silly thing today. I don't know if you saw this. Basically,
yes.
I say epiphany. If you want to add kind of quotation marks around it, it's fine. Now, I've always liked Idris Elba. He's a good actor. But man, this is just a strange and stupid take, in my opinion. UK actor Idris Elba suggests kitchen knives be blunted, others banned to prevent stabbings. It's like, I think I saw a video. Maybe I can find it, or maybe one of you can find it. I saw a video earlier today, even that he's sitting around and talking, and he's like, maybe all the knives should be like, you should take the point off the knife, so then less people will be stabbing each other. It's like, and I think that this has something to do. There's a few different reasons. Idris Elba, in addition to being an actress, on special kind of committees, or I don't know, as part of this nonsense, I think that sort of the agenda is instead of addressing that there's like stabbings in England, they're like, well, there's too many kitchen knives. That's the problem. And really, really, I don't think that's the problem. It's a very kind of gaslighting way to not acknowledge real issues that are happening there and trying to sort of put a Band-Aid on it in a way that seems preposterous.
That's
I
not
mean,
even a Band-Aid, though.
It's really it's just dumb. It's like, oh, that's the reason there's too many stabbings, because you have a lot of knives in your kitchen. I don't think
Yeah.
so. I
Hey,
don't.
You know, as long as they're not going to take away my baseball bat with a bunch of big construction nails, driven through it, I think I'll be fine.
Right. I mean, the thing is that where does this kind of thing end? Where does it
It's
end?
so
I
dumb.
mean,
It's so dumb.
I think it's cricket bats in the UK.
Yes, in the UK it'd be cricket bats. But
there are so many things that you could do damage to another person with, and I think that if you're a person that wants to do damage, whether your knife in the kitchen is like a steak knife or not a steak knife, I don't think that that's really going to make the difference. I think that it's really
let's say we take the point off of the knives. We only have butcher knives. They're just square and sharp on the end. Is that going to be better? We won't have
stabbing.
When you got people running down a street wielding a butcher knife and hacking people apart, that's better than stabbings?
Or a lot of slashing.
Yeah, fewer stabbings and more slashings.
Okay,
what
so
about
right
hammers?
now,
Sharpen
I don't know if you can hear
screwdrivers.
this.
Robnet Scoobla's got it. Yeah, just sharpen some screwdrivers.
The
Start
kitchen
running down
knives
the
are
street.
Can you hear this?
25% of the knives used in most of the.
Did you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The truth is that kitchen knives are perhaps 25% of the knives used in most of the terrible crimes. That's one of the stats in the films. And those kitchen knives are usually a domestic situation. Okay. So kitchen knives, of course, it's very difficult. They're domestic knife. I do think there is areas of innovation that we can do with kitchen knives. I hate to say it, not all kitchen knives need to have a point on them. That sounds like a crazy thing to say, but actually it would reduce. You can still cut your food without the point on the knife, which is an innovative way to sort of look at it. And in a country in crisis, I'm sorry, but yeah, let's look at that. But the truth is, all knives, the loophole on the heritage knives allows the sale of ninja swords to be sold.
Zombie swords.
So while
ninja
granddad's
swords.
sword on
The
there,
epidemic of ninja sword murder.
There is leaving a loophole.
Is he
for someone to
high?
carry a ninja sword.
I think he has to
Ban
be.
them all, and if you have one of those knives, get a license for it. Simple as that.
You're going to need a license.
It's a small contribution to society if you say, all right, I'm going to back that. I'll get a license for my granddad's sword, because it is leaving these kids vulnerable.
They already banned guns. They should just ban knives.
Yeah, ban the knives, and then all of society is only allowed to eat soft foods. There's nothing we can cook. And
ban the sharp sticks.
Yeah. You're not allowed to sharpen a stick. Definitely not at both ends.
How do they build houses? Hey, I have an idea of innovation. Put violent criminals in prison instead of people doing Facebook posts. How about that?
That's really radical, Istafobos. I don't know if they would go for that.
It's one of the dumbest actor sounding things I've heard in a long time.
The thing is that sometimes actors really surprise me. Idris Elba has like a good reputation. People like him. He's always given me like a good, seemed all right. And then in just 1 minute, you hear this guy talking about this nonsense, and it sounds like the dumbest thing I ever heard. And not only that, I mean, I think that it's not just dumb. Part of the reason why there's this gaslighting is that I know in the UK there were some situations with stabbing, and instead of addressing the real issue, this is a very kind of in my opinion, a head in the sand way of approaching it. Meaning, instead of saying, yeah, there's bad people doing some bad things here, the idea is, well, maybe if our knives weren't as sharp, well, maybe there would be less people using them. And that is really, really a dumb, even as a gaslight, it's like insulting. I'm insulted that this is how he would even, it's either he's stupid or he's just a bad gaslighter. I don't know which it is.
Stupid.
He's stupid. You think he's just dumb?
During the Summer of Love, he was tweeting crap like, we're coming for heads. And I reported him to Twitter. I'm like, he's inciting violence. I think he's just a jackass.
Man, that sucks. I'm never going to be able to watch Thor the same way and look at Heimdall or watch Luther, which is one of my.
I like Luther. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the best shows ever. But you know, it's like I really liked you. Why did you have to go and be this fucking stupid?
He's just sorry, Sean. He's such a great actor, but clearly there's nothing between his ears.
No.
He just he can read the lyrics and he can read the not the lyrics. He can read the words off the page and then he can say them and you know, with conviction. And that could be because there's nothing getting in the way of him just performing exactly what is put on the page for him. But we did get a super chat over on YouTube from the Dead Man for $1.99. He says, I don't get his point. But I'm shot.
That's a good one. Also, the Dead Man gave a poop emoji. I think I said it before, but that was for 99 cents. Thank you, the Dead Man. Dead Man is very generous, and he's generous almost every time we do a stream, and I think every time, actually, not even almost. So it's really nice. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the poop.
Yes.
Thank you for even the poop. Listen, even poop is good. Whatever it is. People are reacting. I'll take it.
Six says, I can't believe you just admitted to reporting someone on Twitter. I report people on Twitter all the time. I reported Istafos 3 times today. I don't know what you're talking about.
I reported myself another 2.
This was like whenever the Summer of Love was, so it didn't matter. They weren't gonna do anything about it.
Listen, back in the day, I've only once, I think, reported somebody on Twitter. I think it was once. And I've been there for years.
And I've forgiven you.
No, there was somebody, you know how we always laugh at like Mustache Man, whatever? There was somebody that was like the biggest, like, you know, Mustache Man enthusiast, just writing the craziest things like all day and all night. I don't know how I don't know how maybe it was a post that somebody else wrote and this person was responding and then I clicked and saw their like timeline. And it was insanity. I mean, I've been on Twitter for a long time. This was like insane. And I went and like, there was something like completely bonkers that this person wrote. And then I think that was the only time. And I'm like, fine, I'll report this. And I reported and Twitter did one of those generic, like, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Our team of experts is going to be looking into it as soon as possible. And you know what happened to that guy?
Kept on tweeting.
Nothing. Only me, like that I wrote like about Kathleen Kennedy and her stupid thing. Then I was like shadow banned every minute. I'm not saying it was her. I'm just noting that I said that and then I was shadow banned. I don't know if there's a connection between them because I don't want to, you know, allegedly or whatever you want to call it. But let's just say that considering that that's what I did and the other guy was like Mr. Mustache Man and they're just like, they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. And then I understood that there's that whole reporting thing isn't worth anything anyways. I don't know. Maybe now it's a different regime. I don't know how it works now, but I think that Twitter doesn't care. Not then and not now.
There's one thing, though, that anybody who works in a restaurant knows there's nothing more dangerous than a dull knife when you're cooking.
Jeez, no. That's one of the first things you learn in Boy Scouts.
Yeah,
A dull knife is far more dangerous than a sharp one.
And he wants to make them all dull, so...
Well, he just wants to make them not pointy. Right?
Oh, I thought he talked about dulling the edges as well.
Oh, did he? Oh, I don't know. That would be ridiculous. Yeah.
Six says if it wasn't for Professor Price would never read his own supers. Not for lack of wanting to read them. It's just somehow my mind is focused on a lot of things. Usually Professor just notices them before me.
Well, and I was saying too, like with the streaming software that we're using for this platform that we've got here from Rumble, it actually hides these supers from the scrolling chat. The supers disappear. We can see regular chats from YouTube. We can see regular chats from Rumble, but these supers just like don't exist in the sort of chat stream in the room here in the green room. So it's you have to have another chat window open with YouTube to keep an eye on.
Why is Eraser's Head saying, "Big Ship, you broke the system, man"? What system? What did he break?
Oh well, we have Istaphobos gifted 5 Price of Reason live memberships. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank
That's
you, man. It's
awfully
very kind of you.
But they went to nobody because there's nobody in the chat right now who doesn't have a membership.
I see.
After you had the big ship giveaway, what, 70 on Tuesday?
Right, that's right. That's right. But first of all, you know what? We have like, between Rumble and YouTube, we have significantly more. But I'm saying on YouTube now, there's like close to 50 people, and all of them have, they all have the membership.
Yeah, there's still a handful in there that don't, but they must be branded accounts.
Maybe they're branded accounts.
Brand accounts, like mine's a brand account that I have. So yeah, it doesn't. I can't accept memberships.
Well,
either.
anyhow, I'm grateful for.
I have one anyway, but yeah,
somebody will get them. Somebody will get them. It's not gonna. And then
I think do you have to click to accept them? Someone told me the other day that you had to do that, and I was like, what?
Eraser, it wasn't me. I blame ABF. ABF? Why? What did ABF do? I feel like the plot thickens. But in any case, Jeanette was saying something about letter openers. Yeah, I mean, what next? You're going to ban every single thing? You know how many things you can ban that you could claim, like, do bad things? A letter opener can be dangerous, so you won't have a letter opener?
Or forks.
People get that, get the letter openers because they don't want to get cut on paper.
And then you'll ban the forks, and then you'll ban the sporks.
Right, and there's stuff at home. There's hammers, there's shovel. It's like the list will never end in what you can take from your home and use it as as something bad.
That's that's the position that the sort of the nanny state always takes is we're going to take away your toys and that'll fix the problem, right? You two are fighting over a toy. Well, we'll just take the toy away and you're not going to fight with it anymore.
And then I'll sharpen a toothbrush into a point.
Then then they're going to find something else to fight about. With little kids, with the nanny state, it's we'll take away that thing so that you can't fight with it anymore. You can't use that to commit the crimes with anymore. Completely ignoring that the crimes are being committed because of mental illness or because of poverty or because of all sorts of other things that are driving people to commit the crimes. That we're not going to talk about that or try to find a solution to that. No, we're just gonna talk about how we can make sure you're not committing crimes with that particular weapon.
There's a YouTube channel where all they show are the confiscated weapons that people made in prison.
Oh yeah,
if you want,
dozens of them. Yeah, they're wild.
Yeah, if you want a laboratory of innovation, just go to the most restricted environment. It's like the Sardaukar from Dune. Some guy made a crossbow out of toothbrushes, duct tape, and dental floss.
Yes, and they used it. I saw somebody use it.
Yeah.
Like they punched through like a pillow. Like that would definitely have stabbed somebody if they used it. It's wild. Yeah.
If somebody wants to hurt somebody else, they're going to find a way. So focus on the cause.
Since we're doing a rapid round, let's see if I can share this thing.
Rodnett Scuba says a broken Christmas ornament is very sharp. You're not wrong. I've cut myself on a broken Christmas ornament before.
Yeah, or a light bulb. I did that today.
Wow. Oh, geez. Yes.
Oh, no. Somehow it's not working.
Oh, no.
They tell women in self-defense class to throw their keys at the face of somebody who's attacking them. Are they going to get rid of keys?
Okay, guys, tell jokes for a second. I'll be right back.
What's a good?
No, go ahead.
Then I was going to say, what's a pirate's favorite letter?
R.
No.
You'd think it was the R, but it's really the C.
Oh, nice. Good one.
What do you call a fish? What do you call a fish without an eye?
Mm-hmm.
A fish.
I think I've heard that one. That's good.
I know what you call a three-eyed fish. That would be Blinky.
Blinky.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the basketball court always so wet? Because the players won't stop dribbling.
That's disgusting.
Only in your mind.
Well, let's see if I can fix it now. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yep.
You see, Price just misses out on all the jokes. He thinks we don't tell anything. Yeah. He thinks
Sean
we
always tells
just
that
sitting there.
pirate thing. You
Yeah.
think it was the R, but it ends up being the C.
I want to point out that woman from that movie, she's the Vespa rider from the Book of Boba Fett.
She is. I saw
knew
that
she
the other
looked
day when we
familiar.
were looking
I
at.
knew she looked
looking at this.
familiar. That is so funny that she's the Vespa rider. I
don't
didn't
know.
even realize.
One of the mods
Yeah,
riding the Vespa.
I don't know what any of that is.
More machine than men.
Oh yes,
The
oh,
mod.
you missed out.
She
Sean.
looked so
I did not.
familiar, and you're now you. That's it. Now I understand. Like I went to see this movie. Okay, so I had a chance to see this movie, like before it comes out officially. I saw it, a few days before it actually came out. Not that it matters. I did like a review. I'm like, look, it's like an early review, and nobody watched it. But in any case, I watched it. It's called Companion, and it's billed as a horror movie. That's what I was told. It's like it's a horror movie, and I went there. This, in my opinion, is not a horror movie. This is maybe a science fiction thriller of sorts, but it's not a horror movie.
Is she a robot?
Is it good?
I mean, here's okay. So the thing is that I want to try to not ruin it for people if they want to see it. Basically, in the marketing itself, unfortunately, because I wouldn't have done that if I were them, it has maybe been suggested that perhaps even in this picture, there's something about her that doesn't look natural. So this is what people are thinking to themselves, oh, so it's one of those type of movies. But I will say, if I kind of zoom out, the movie, the first act, sort of plays out like almost like a relationship drama. It's like a couple that goes to some kind of a weekend getaway with friends. It's a property of this kind of suspicious Russian businessman that's invited all of them for the weekend. And then at some point there's a murder, and then that kind of leads to AI, to robots, to like a heist, more murders, all this kind of stuff. And I will say this, the screenplay, it has a lot of twists and turns, and there are things about this movie that I liked. The one thing that I didn't like, and I said it in my review on my main channel, is that I felt that there was, again, these kind of agenda, this kind of anti-white, straight white male patriarchy thing. I mean, it's not like they hijacked an IP. It's an original movie. And maybe if this movie came out like 10, 20 years ago, I wouldn't even think about it. But it's just, there's a part of me that's just kind of tired that every movie, no matter what genre, no matter what it is, there's like a middle finger to men. And I understand it's a movie, it's a story, it's doing whatever it does. But at some point, it already starts to annoy me. Maybe it's just me. If I separate that sentiment away from it and just look at it as a movie, it's not like the best movie I've ever seen. It's serviceable enough. And if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, by the way, did you guys see Rotten Tomatoes?
I don't know why anyone goes to it. Never.
No, but guess what kind of grade? Now that I told you that there's an agenda that I think it's like, you go girl, anti-patriarchy, what do you think that the score of this is on Rotten Tomatoes?
99.
75.
Actually, Sean was much closer than you. I'm trying to pull it up, but
95.
95.
Good grief.
They gave it like a Godfather score. It's like, what are you giving 95 for? This thing is not a 95. Now, again, is it a movie that I think is like, pleasant enough, whatever, you could watch it? It's fine. It had some moments, even though she's the Vespa rider, and I kept thinking, why is she familiar? Why is she familiar? If I would have realized she was the Vespa girl, that would have been bad, because I probably would have been annoyed. Somehow I didn't pick up that it was her. She's not a bad actress. Maybe you couldn't tell that in Book of Boba Fett, but she's actually not a bad actress. Jack Quaid, who was in the show The Boys, he's the guy. It's like Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's son. He's a pretty good actor. I think that the actors did a fine job. I really have nothing bad to say about their performance. They were probably the stronger part of the movie. The movie also only cost $10 million to produce. So I think that, if nothing else, I appreciate the cost-effective way it was done. It's competently made. I wasn't bored by it. But I will say this, when you watch it, there's all these twists and turns in the plot, and maybe you're like, oh, that's interesting. But if you stop for 1 second to think about it, you could find so many holes in the story, so many plot holes. It's like a lot of stuff just is completely preposterous. And I explain this in my video. Even if you watch a science fiction movie that has, it's a world that has its own set of rules, you have to stick to those rules. You have to understand what the rules are. You have to stick with them. And then this kind of world building, whatever you want to call it, you'll accept even weird things that are happening, because the rules have been explained to you. Like in Back to the Future 1, forget about the sequels, so they kind of, don't exactly stick to their own rules there. But in like Back to the Future 1, it doesn't really make sense that a guy's going to travel in 1955, but they set rules. You understand what happens in the rules of that world, and you're on board. You'll accept it. Same with like Terminator, you know what I mean? So in this movie, I feel like every time the screenplay needs some kind of convenience, it's like, okay, this is happening now. Okay, that's happening. It's like that's kind of convenient. So that's the feeling I got. It's not a 95. I gave it I still recommend you watch my review, but I gave it like a 70 out of 100. And I think that represents what this movie is, especially $10 million budget, working on a tight budget, still making a decent movie. That's what I think it's worth. And I could do with less of they could have done the whole smash the patriarchy, but at the end, there's one part that at the end, like, you already see all this stuff that really has this underlying theme, but in case you weren't sure, there's something that a woman tells a man, like, the truth is you don't have any confidence, your penis is so small, you're this and that, and yours and that. It's like almost like a lecture, and I'm like, like another one of these movies, just shut up already. I don't know, it was a bad thing for me to think, because like it wanted the audience to feel like a you go girl moment, and I'm like, like I've had it. I don't know if that makes me a bad person. I don't know what to say, but that's just like, and really these days what happens is a lot of these kind of big franchises, they already came and destroyed them all with all that stupid agenda. So now they're trying to, do these kind of smaller movies, which I guess it's better if they did that. Then at least you could say, well, they're doing original stuff. It's their own crap. They can do whatever they want. It's low budget. It's not like they're hijacking IP. But I don't know. Recently, I was in that Substance movie. That Substance movie was also a very kind of female empowering middle finger to men. The only way they get by is that the men that they're doing the middle finger to is basically, Hollywood executives, that kind of Harvey W. ones. Basically, the guy that's the most like irritating guy in Substance is a guy who's a Hollywood producer that's kind of an istanophobe, and his name is Harvey. So I assume that they were very much thinking of a certain Harvey when I called him that. But
subtle.
Yeah, I mean, it's very subtle. And then, Zoe Kravitz, she had a movie called Blink Twice. The movie was about like, ladies being taken to an island and being served grapes all the time. It's just like, I don't know. It's fine. You can make those movies. I have nothing to say. At least they're original. But man, I don't feel like watching them all day. And Sean is just getting tired listening to me talk about watching them.
I want to see the Substance, but yeah, I think every intention of those types of movies is the you go girl, yeah, whatever, and everybody's just so irritated by it.
Well, the Substance,
and I was staring at Boba Fett too.
I mean, I'll be honest. The Substance, I thought was it did a lot of things really well until maybe the last 20 minutes. It's almost like 20 minutes before it does. And that ending would have been perfect. I think it would have been a great ending, and I totally think that that's what they should have done. But instead, they couldn't help themselves. They wanted to, go the extra mile. And those final 20 minutes, it's like this kind of almost like they tried a David Cronenberg, like with The Fly or whatever. Like, but it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. It's like a bloodbath, a literal bloodbath. But I kind of look at it and think this just seems stupid. You know what I mean? It almost just derailed the credibility of the movie, because up until the last 20 minutes, I actually did think this movie is stylishly made. I like the acting. I like the concept. I thought that it was well directed. The professor is gone. But now he's back and better than ever. In any case, I guess what I'm saying is that Substance could have been like a very good movie and somehow with the last 20 minutes it derails its own movie to just turn it into a pretty decent movie.
Well, I think anything that attacks the patriarchy automatically gets like a 90%.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make it clear, I believe in equality, absolutely. But a large part of the patriarchy came from the idea that men were expendable, but women were not.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
and it's not like men peasants were treated better than women peasants.
There's a real feeling, you know, as I watch this movie, and especially towards the end, that, you know, anybody, like, first of all, there's nothing I can say. There aren't a ton of people in this movie, but the ones that are the white male ones that are straight white male, they are the targets of the most kind of underlying themes, meaning the things that happen with them are the worst. There's a few other people that maybe are not even good people, but because they're sort of diverse, there's maybe a redeeming quality about them, or things like that. And the ones that are like the white ones, they get 100% whatever the worst is, that's what they are. I don't know. I just feel like it happens in every movie. Maybe if it was just one movie here and one movie there, I wouldn't even think about it. But these days, and forget about this companion movie. These days, like if I watch a movie and there's like 5 people on screen, it's a movie that you know something bad is going to happen. You kind of figure that whoever, if there's like 5 people and one of them is like a straight white male, you already suspect that when something happens, that straight white male is going to be the worst.
Yep. Every time.
It's like I watched that Disney Wish movie. Have you ever seen Disney Wish?
Oh God,
no.
Disney Wish was an interesting experience. When it came out, I have like a pass that I can go to see multiple movies a month in the theater. Many of them actually with like a one-time fee, which is really worth it for a guy that reviews movies. So sometimes even if there's movies that are questionable and you think, I can't believe you went to see it, I'll go see it because if maybe I can review it, I'll watch it. Now, Wish was something that Disney did for their 100th anniversary. And it was supposed to be like a throwback to their Disney princess era or whatever it is. And man, that movie, the amount of propaganda and like messaging in that movie was like insane. And I sat there in the theater and there was just maybe like a mom and her daughter or something like that. And there were a few points that probably weren't supposed to be funny, but I was like cackling. Like I was bursting out laughing because I said to myself, if they're really Disney now, then this will happen because I already know their agenda. And then it happened and like I burst out laughing. And like this mother, I think the mother was like, why is this grown man even sitting in this theater here like cackling? It was like in Point, what's it called? In Cape Fear, when Robert De Niro was like laughing in the theater with a cigar. That's probably what I looked like. And I think that there was one part that made me laugh, that this girl, basically the you know, somebody is trying to arrest her or arrest her family or something like that. And she has a few friends and she has like, she's standing next to like 4 friends or something like that. And one of them snitched on her. And there's like one like Asian friend and one like, you know, African-American friend and one, I don't know what friend, like maybe he looks gay or I don't even know. And then there's one that just looks like a regular dude. And I'm thinking to myself, he's the traitor. He's the one that snitched on her. It has to be him. And like 5 seconds later, they're just like, he's the traitor. Like it's him. And I don't know why I was just like laughing. I'm like, I knew it. It could only be him. There wasn't another option. You know what I mean? And then like also that whole movie with Wish, it's a king that's supposed to be benevolent and he gives people wishes. And this like very diverse girl who's the Disney princess starts working with him. And I just say to myself, like, how soon is it going to turn out that this guy's like the worst person ever? And I thought it would take maybe like, 30 minutes, 50 minutes into the movie. I'm telling you, within like 3 minutes, he's the most evil person ever. He's like the white king that's like the worst ever. And I'm like laughing. And then finally, I'll just tell you in Wish, there's a part at the end that he wants to take control over everybody. And there's all these diverse people. And I said to myself, if Disney are really Disney now, he's going to put them in chains. You know what I mean? The diverse people are going to be in chains. And then he does like a magic spell and they all have chains. And I'm like, that's it. That's when I was like cackling and the mother was looking at me and I couldn't stop laughing. It's like she couldn't understand why I was laughing. But I just thought that it was funny. And I feel like that's the feeling I have almost going to every movie over the past 7 years or so.
That movie was also really horrible looking for the same reason behind the scenes, is that it was made by all unqualified Tumblr artists because Disney had fired all of the male animators with experience.
It was a crappy movie. Everything was crappy about it. And all I remember was like laughing and cackling in the theater. I was like I'm not like Kamala. I wasn't like Kamala cackling because her cackling is annoying. I was more like I said, Cape Fear. That is a good way to describe me in that theater.
Especially if you're laughing about slavery. What is that mother thinking?
But the thing is, I mean, it's not that I like anything like that. I'm just saying that the fact that I knew that he was the white like king and they hate him, and the other thing is that the white king, his wife turns like they need an ally to like help take him down, and his wife like shows up. She can't take any more of his actions, so his wife joins like the rebellion against him because he's so bad. And at the end, I'm like, probably now she'll be like the girl boss queen, and like, you know, I don't know what they'll do with him. So the movie ends that like they say that she's the queen and they give her the crown, and then they go and they put him in a dungeon and lock him up. So. and you know, it's also telling like the sort of, you remember the Disney films that we used to get, there were a lot of moral lessons that we were sort of taught as part of those, like what best ways to, like, you know, live life, you know, to show kindness to others, to you know, to try and be your best self, and in lots of different ways.
Yeah, to get along in conflict resolution peacefully.
Yeah, and what we're taught in Wish is that you're a bad person for not giving other people everything they've ever wished for. You're a bad person.
Yeah. What was that movie with Jim Carrey where he was God for a day and everybody wanted to win the lottery, so they did.
Bruce
Almighty. Yeah. That's what happens when everybody gets what they want.
Yeah. That's, I mean, it's a lesson that's been in fairy tales and all sorts of different, you know, just common wisdom forever is to be careful what you wish for, right? And nope, not in modern Disney. It's wishes. Everyone should get every wish they've ever had, and for you to not grant all of their wishes, that you're evil and you're a dictator and you need to go down. We're gonna take you out.
Well, that's why I like the Beekeeper so much. But even they had to put a little girl boss in there that just felt really tacked on. But hopefully some of this is changing. It just they need to clean out the pipes of stuff already.
Yeah, they got to clean. They got to get all this stuff out of the hopper, the stuff that's already being developed, and then then they're just gonna have to fire a lot of people.
I'm old. Does anybody remember Joe the Plumber? They have to call Joe the Plumber and flush out all the pipes.
Joe the Plumber.
By the way, Jeanette said it was Bruce Almighty, but you know what I recall now is that they wanted to do a sequel, but Jim Carrey wasn't involved, so they got Steve Carell and they made Evan Almighty, and it was like a Noah's Ark movie. I don't know. I mean, I guess I didn't hate Evan Almighty, but I really feel like it could have ended with Bruce Almighty. I don't know if that Evan Almighty one was necessary.
Well, you know, Hollywood, they hate sequels. But Jim Carrey really does, which makes the Sonic movies that much more incredible because he usually won't do sequels.
I see. Well, I think that at this juncture of his career, he's just like, you know, F it. But since we were supposed to be doing quick things, I don't know how we got to Wish. What else do we have on the list here?
Well, we were talking about Companion. I thought Sean might enjoy a clip of Companion here.
All right, show it.
If I can find it. Where did it go? That's not it.
I'll check my bedroom. I'll let you know if it's in there.
Yeah. Where did it go? I can't find it. Oh, here we go. I think this is it. I think this is it right here.
All right.
No, I'm sorry. That was the wrong clip. Sorry.
You know
Sorry.
what? I feel bad for her because after seeing her in this movie, she's actually not a bad actress. You would never know that from the Book of Boba Fett. The Book of Boba Fett is like the worst thing that could happen to any actor. I commend her that she managed to bounce back after being in that crappy show, but she's not a bad actress.
For a
she's
minute,
gonna be playing a robot till she's 40.
I couldn't find my Boba Fett for a second. I thought he saw the clip and just took off.
Just split.
Yeah.
Well, that did not feature Boba Fett. That featured Boba Fett. So
It's funny that the actor Tamwa Morrison was like, "Oh, people are calling me Boba Fett." I feel bad. I mean, it's nothing personal against him, you know.
In shape, you weren't really in shape for the role, my man. I like Tamura Morrison. I actually really do like him. I think he's given some fun performances. I liked him in Aquaman.
Did you like him in
I
Barbed
Aquaman's
Wire?
dad. But I think he gives some good performances. He has a great voice. But it's like you didn't you showed up for this and you're not really in the shape you need to be. But granted, again, he's also an older guy, so
he is older.
Maybe
I mean,
he did the best he could. I don't know.
He did the best he could under the circumstances. It also felt like a rushed project.
Yeah.
Even the Gamorrean guards look like crap.
Oh, they did look. They look like garbage. They were really poorly done.
Yeah, and he's Maori, and I'm reminded of Pulp Fiction. You know, cut the guy a break. He's a Samoan.
I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, Maori men tend to get that way as they get older.
Carry a lot of weight. But yep.
So basically, I don't know if you saw this, but let me try to find it where the original article was. Leslie Headland, there was something interesting that came out.
Oh, yes. Getting out of television.
Didn't you date her or something?
Yeah. Well, while you're looking for that, did you hear the rumor today that they're going to be turning the multi-billion-dollar Star Wars hotel, the Galactic Star Cruiser, into office space?
The irony is just delicious.
So
swollen
legs.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. It's like you could tell that PR people worked on this and how exactly to do this. This was basically today an article that's sort of a fluff piece to say how great Leslie Headland is. And at the very end of it, there's a very kind of clever way of saying that basically, if I'm reading between the lines, after the Acolyte, she was fired from whatever Netflix project she was doing. That's my opinion. But it's it's mentioned in a way, this is very careful, this thing that we're looking at. So Leslie Headland will adapt stage hit Cult of Love for film, Kiss Evelyn Hugo Goodbye, and Remember the Acolyte as a Teenage Dream. This very much looks like a fluff piece where PR representatives sort of crafted this. Instead of saying hey, she was just kicked off of a show because she did shitty on another show. First of all, it's she's going to adapt this wonderful thing for film. It's announcing a project. And Kiss Evelyn Hugo Goodbye, she doesn't even have time to do that project. And Remember the Acolyte as a Teenage Dream. Acolyte is the ultimate failure. In any case, so quickly I'll read. The past year of Leslie Headland's work has been a love letter to her teenage self. The multi-talented, this is her publicist, the multi-talented screenwriter, director, showrunner, playwright. She wrote this herself, is on the eve of closing her acclaimed Broadway debut, Cult of Love, a project she jumped headfirst into after finishing the edit on her 2024 Disney Plus series, Star Wars series, The Acolyte. I actually think that she's done a play before. She started off writing a play.
Yeah, she did one about Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, she did something about how great it is to work for him or something like that.
Yeah, this is also her play.
This is also her play. By the way, just because, you said it before, I never said she was my girlfriend. All I said was, many years ago, I was at a bar, and this is a true story. I was in the bar in the East Village, which was very near where I lived. At the same time, she lived close to there. So it was a bar that I guess she from time to time would hang out at too. It had a cinema theme. And one time I sat there on the bar just having drinks like I would do from time to time because it was kind of one of my local hangouts. that I would frequent. And young lady, I was pretty young myself, but a young lady sat next to me, and we just, talked. I was drinking some drinks, and she was drinking, and it turned out that she worked for Harvey W. And I was able to verify it was absolutely 100% her. We probably spent a few hours talking about film, and she told me some of what she did and her work. It was whatever it was. Don't have anything really interesting. It's just one time I was telling this to the professor on a stream that I thought that nobody was listening to and nobody cared. And a guy called Melvin Deeply clipped it and sent it to the whole world. And since then, people will never forget that I had drinks with her.
We were
and
listening.
The legend grows,
and we were definitely listening. But I think AI wrote this article because it's too good for her to have written it. She might have prompted it.
Maybe she used AI, but in any case, ChatGPT helped her. Broadway is a big deal, and I would say to 13-year-old Leslie, to do a Star Wars story and Broadway, it's mind-blowing, Hedlund recently shared with Variety. The Russian doll co-creator's upbringing is top of mind in Cult of Love, which was, which was originally staged at the Berkeley Rep. Relentless dramedy, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it's about a family and how they need to learn to accept your family for who they are, even when you have religious differences and other beliefs in your household.
Where did that come from?
And of course, there has to be the Orange Man angle. I started writing it in 2016 when Trump was elected the first time, and I thought it would be interesting to write a dysfunctional family play at this moment when our country is a dysfunctional family. So basically, TDS launched the creative angle here. Let me see what else. There's a lot of okay. Did you show an aptitude for what you currently do when you were younger? Yes, my parents encouraged it. Blah 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 blah. Fan fiction started as I really fell in love with Star Wars. I don't know. More on Star Wars in a moment. Blah blah blah. There were a few things, but you went into prep for Broadway after you finished edit on The Acolyte. Those are two very different beasts. And I would say to 13-year-old Leslie to do a Star Wars story. Okay, again, that stupid quote. I think the industry is in a strange place right now. I don't even I mean that totally negatively. When you came up in the era I did, the idea was to become Tarantino, Wes Anderson, Chris Nolan, Aronofsky, Spike Jonze. Yeah, all of those guys have talent. But Truffaut said every amateur makes a movie, breaks it apart, then makes the same movie, blah, blah, blah. In any case, let me see. There was one thing finally. After all this bullshit, this at the end, the final question in this stupid thing. This is it. This is like the money shot. Are you guys with me?
Sure.
Sean, are you awake?
Barely.
Professor is doing whatever Professor does. It's the Phobos. Are you still with us?
Yeah, we are on 3 Mile Final to runway 33. Sorry, bad joke.
Okay. What's going on with the film adaptation of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo? And that was the project that she was doing for Netflix. That was supposed to be after the success of The Acolyte. She's doing that for Netflix. So she says, and this is a whole fluffy article that her publicist put together. And the final question after kissing her ass through the whole thing, she says, I am no longer working on that project. I remain a huge, huge fan of the book and the people working on it. It's one of those things where you know it's going to be a huge success. I thought, damn it, it's not going to work out with me involved in it, but it is going to be wildly successful. It is the type of book that if I'd read in my 20s, I would have had a completely different life. It's so beautifully done. Now, that's a very, very strange sentence. What do you mean it's going to work out without you involved in it? It's not going to work out with me involved in it?
Listen, this isn't the first time she talks about having a completely different life. If she didn't she say that about Frozen and the sisters? That seems to be a theme with her.
Well, I didn't meet her at the age of 13, but I met her in her 20s, and I'll say that she, at the time, she was an assistant to those guys, and the best thing that happened is that they used to let her read some scripts, and that's something that she told me. That they let her read some scripts. Eventually, they actually, then probably with the connections she made there, was able to get into writing, to get into plays, to get into doing stuff. I don't want to be mean. It's not a personal attack, but I highly doubt that without being the assistant to both Bob and Harvey for a number of years working for them, if that wasn't the case, I don't think that she would have opened the same kind of doors for herself.
Oh, absolutely. In her first success, Russian Doll, she was sort of hanging on the coattails of Natasha Lyonne. If you look at the individual episode credits, Natasha did like the vast majority of the work on that show.
And then basically the second season, and between you and me, the second season, nobody's going to explain it this way. I'm sure there's a fluffy explanation, but from what I could tell, they booted her out of there in the second season.
That's because Natasha is probably no fool.
So she started off, she's like the co-creator, she's this, and that, and then to come the next season, she's gone. Acolyte, she did this, nobody's going to let her do any more Acolyte. They had something on Netflix, they saw the Acolyte, that's gone too. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Acolyte is such a colossal failure. I wonder who is going to, and I'm sorry, I don't know how else to say this. Only Kathleen Kennedy could be dumb enough to let this lady do a show with like a $400 million budget. It's like the shittiest show ever. This could only happen there. I don't see who else is going to give her that opportunity. I could be wrong, but I don't see it.
Well, I think the Academy Award for painting your latest failure as a huge success goes to this article and Leslie Headland.
And somebody asked, you met her, you met her when you were 13? No, I didn't meet her when we were 13. I'm saying I met her when she was in her 20s. And I was in, doesn't matter. But yes, it was a while ago. I've tried to think, exactly when it was. And we're now in 2025. I believe it was something like a 2005. I was thinking, throughout the years, now in recent years when I thought about it, I thought, was it like 2006, maybe in 2004? It was probably in a window between 2004 and 5. It was something along those lines. I couldn't tell 100%. I know that she worked because there was a time where the Weinsteins initially was called Miramax, and then they sold that and they opened the Weinstein Company. So it wasn't during the Weinstein. It was still, in my opinion, probably in the later, maybe the final segment of what was the Miramax. Because if I remember correctly, and this is, again, it's been years, but I think that this is how I also knew that she wasn't, a phony. I think she had a business card with the Miramax thing, and that's how I knew that she also wasn't making it up.
The dialogue in The Acolyte was so excruciatingly bad. I had to stop watching it because I was breaking too many things in my house. I mean,
that whole show was pathetic. I mean,
yeah, she can't write.
She can't write anything. I mean, there's been so much failing upward, and I can't think of another case of like a failing upward than her. Maybe she can get away with doing dumb plays. Maybe that, when it's a play, people are you can fool them with nonsense. There's enough dumb people that'll think, oh, this is so artsy. Maybe you can pull a fast one on some people in a play setting. But for her to take on like a Star Wars series with that kind of budget, man, that to say that she was out of her element there, it would be an understatement. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody will still hire her to do something. But I think it's the type of failure that's really difficult to bounce back from.
Yeah.
I hope that I hope for her, I guess, that she saved something in her bank, because I don't think she's going to be seeing those kind of Acolyte paychecks again. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Although you never know. Rian Johnson is an overrated hack, and he made The Last Jedi, which is a terrible movie, and then went to Netflix, and they gave him a deal to do not Netflix. It wasn't Netflix. First he did his stupid first Knives Out movie without Netflix, but then he signed a deal with Netflix for a ton of money to then make the next 2 with them, or the next 3 with them. It's like, how many people even want to watch that stupid movie, Knives Out?
Well, there's a big difference between The Last Jedi and The Acolyte, and she's not going to be getting any residuals from the show either. I pretty much can guarantee you that. So,
nope. I mean, I'll say this, and it's really hard because this is difficult for me. I don't like the style of Rian Johnson. I think he's super overrated. I think that the only thing that he's done that's ever really been good is that he worked under Vince Gilligan and his crew on Breaking Bad in a situation that there's an entire team and creative vision in place, and he's sort of like a gun for hire. He did that fine. That's probably his strength. You have a good team, you want somebody to come to like a quality show, and he does what he's told. Rian Johnson is capable of doing that and even like delivering something decent. The part that Rian Johnson is a problem when he starts thinking that he's actually some kind of auteur with like real substance and knows how to write stuff, that's where the problem started. Because he's not that good. People falsely enabled him and gave them feeling that he's worth a lot more than he is. Brick is a dumb movie that could have been a 15-minute sketch, short movie maybe. Looper is like a movie that he had Bruce Willis and Emily Blunt. He had a lot working for him, and he made a movie that, in my opinion, was mediocre at best. Some people are like, "Ooh, I really like it," but it's fine if you like it. It's fine if you like Looper. I thought it was very mediocre. It did not signal to me that this guy was any kind of genius. And then after like 2 movies, he made like those 2 movies, and then they're like, "You got to do The Last Jedi." Based on what? I mean, nothing he did in those movies showed that he would know how to do The Last Jedi. So, sorry.
In the Knives Out movie, he's actually cheating. He can't write real mysteries. So, like when he films the scene, and then they go back and do a flashback, the scene is a different scene with different people there. He's basically cheating. He's lying to the audience. He's not a good enough writer to create an actual mystery that's coherent. Same with Looper, but I think he's good enough. If he has someone above him reining him in, he can do good work.
So the dead man, he sent a super chat, and then
I'm gonna have to get going, Grace.
Oh no. So yes, it's all true. The dead man said, "Can you share the time that you were in a bar and Nelson Mandela died?" I guess that was his super chat. Yes, I was in a bar and everybody was drinking, and then in the middle of drinking, and there's music and everybody's in a good mood, somebody said, hey, did you hear the news? Like, Nelson Mandela just died. And for a minute, everybody was serious, wow, good, good old Nelson. And then after about a minute of us all looking at each other very seriously, we continued on with our evening. And we gave him the respect we could under the circumstances. It's just, that moment may not have been the perfect moment to show our respect. He got a few seconds, there were some serious faces in the room for that short window of time. What more could I have done,
Hey, he was 95. He won.
Right. I mean, well, like I said, the people, we raised our beer, and we in our own way, we showed him our respect.
I gotta get going.
Oh man!
Before you interrupt, not to interrupt you, sorry. I'm so tired. I was up super early. I gotta go to bed.
It's okay, man. You go to bed, Sean. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
goodbye, Sean.
Sean works a ton of hours these days, so it's great when you can join us. Appreciate you, man. You have a good night.
You too. Take it easy.
I'll see you later, man.
I love your Quantum Leap stuff, man. That's I mostly lurk, but I'm listening. It was really good tonight.
Nice. Good night, everyone. Good night, chat.
Take care.
Bye, Sean.
Price, when you first said Leslie Headland was doing a play, what first popped into my head?
What was it?
I'm going to show my age again. The Big Lebowski. When the guy does his play in there, that's
jeez.
And then you said you could get away with stuff and be a little artsy, and I just started laughing because Yep, that's pretty much. They eat that stuff up in the playhouses.
Exactly. I've been in situations, especially that I lived in New York for a long time, that people were like, "Oh, you got to go see this play," and sometimes it would be like an off-Broadway thing. I think that her previous play may have been an off-Broadway, and you'd sit there, and they can get away with a lot of weird shit. You know what I mean? Like, there would be like some play with like people talking about strange things and doing weird things. And I remember there was once this kind of artsy thing that, I went and some guy was arguing with another person, and in the middle he started this is a real story. It was like one of those kind of artsy New York kind of situations. In the middle of the play, I think he started like clucking like a chicken, but like everybody is sitting there super serious, not like laughing at all. It's like super serious that this man who was having a serious conversation is now clucking like a chicken and walking around. Why was he a chicken? I don't know. And like you're not supposed to laugh. It's not funny. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So yeah, that's I can't even explain it. Like, no matter what I tell you is probably not going to convey the feeling I had when I was there. And it's not the only time I was at a play like this where like these kind of plays sometimes don't even have to make sense, because all they have to do is like, oh, it's so abstract. Don't you understand? We're exploring the identity of the person is, and I don't know what. And like whatever they say to you, most of the time you'll be like, oh, great. Yeah, of course. So I've had my fair share of those kind of plays, and I don't know what she's doing. This one is a Broadway one. I don't know. Maybe it'll be the toast of Broadway. Maybe that's her calling. Maybe she can bullshit them. Certainly not like, Star Wars is certainly not for her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she thinks she loves it.
I'm sure she's deeply saddened to not be working on this Seven Husbands of what the hell, because it's definitely something right up her alley. I don't know if you know anything about the plot of this, but yeah, this sounds like something Netflix is going to be really pushing pretty hard. It's about an aging Hollywood starlet who decides to tell her story about her life in Hollywood. And it starts out with her getting married at 14 to a man that she's using just to get into Hollywood. This sounds like something Netflix is going to be really. Yeah.
Is that Mr. Phobos?
Was getting an echo from Mr. Phobos. Yeah, there.
I feel like he moved to another country. Six says the fact that he just said this is a true story and hasn't said that about all the other stories made me think his voice is fake. Is she talking about me?
Yeah.
What did I say was a true story? And everything I said was a true story. But what was I saying in this time that was weird? Oh, the one with the Nelson Mandela. What can I do?
Yeah. But so yeah, after moving to Hollywood, she divorces her first husband, who she only married to be able to get into Hollywood, marries someone else, and then he's physically abusive, so she breaks it off with him, and instead finds another actress that she adores and finds out that she's lesbian, and then they go off and they be lesbians together.
Is that her previous play?
And no, this is that TV show that she had to leave at Netflix.
Ah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, and I want to choose my words carefully, but you're saying that show that sounds extremely woke, even they didn't want her?
Apparently.
Tim Hayes says Price's British voice is fake. That is true. That I'll give you. What happened is that when I started I was trying to do a comedy thing, and it was supposed to be like comedy sketches, and when I was thinking of what to do, I thought this would be so funny if I'll have like a high-pitched British voice. If you look at my first videos, the one I go to like Comic-Con and things like that, I actually sound like that because I'm like, you said you'd do it, so you have to commit to it. And I really tried. And at the time, it was right for whatever I thought that I was going to do. But over time, so many things happened. And at the end, I kind of, shifted away from that. So that original thing that you hear me talking with a British accent with a funny voice, that was a whole different thing. You could still see parts of my character there, but it's done in a completely different way. But I do acknowledge that, Tim Hayes. You're not wrong. So I have
He's
Dick says Price was drinking with lesbian Headland and Nelson Mandela died and Billy Joel was in the corner writing piano. First of all, the two things didn't happen at the same time. The Nelson Mandela and Headland wasn't at the same time, and Billy Joel, you didn't meet him, have nothing to do with his thing. No, I mean, there are celebrities or whatever you want to call it that I've met. Some I've had more interactions. Some just at like maybe a party or something like that. Leslie Headland, the weird thing about her is that I would later work in fields that were sort of tied or even in entertainment. So that's why I found myself in situations like this. I'm not saying I'm not like at the top of any pyramid of not some big shot or anybody super important, but I found myself in situations that I did end up at these kind of industry events or parties or whatever it was. With Leslie Headland, this was actually when I was studying film. So it was actually the final years before I really started working more in entertainment. It was around that time. And that's also one of the reasons why the meeting was very kind of impactful for me, in the sense that it didn't make an impact, but it was memorable, because for me, as somebody that was studying film and writing and things like that, and then the assistant, Harvey and Bob, W, is sitting next to me and I'm talking to her for a few hours, that was actually something that I remembered very well. So that's why, like, for years I remembered who she was. And yeah. And I've said this before, that actually initially when she was announced, I didn't fully even make the connection. The part that actually I realized that it was the same person is that somebody on X, or it was Twitter back then, posted a video of Leslie Headland being interviewed, and she had this kind of raspy voice, and I looked and I'm like, man, that's her. And then I remembered her name was Leslie and all that stuff. It all came like, I remembered everything the second I heard that voice, because it was this kind of strange raspy voice, and I just it all came back.
And that night of passion just came flooding back, just overwhelming you. Yeah, I've been there.
Not quite, but at least I remembered the raspy voice, so I made the connection. And I've always said this, and I'll maintain it, that talking about film and stuff like that, she didn't seem like the worst person in the world. I mean, maybe she's good at doing these kind of artsy plays that 5 people want to watch. Who knows? Or maybe this will take Broadway by storm and they'll give her 20 Tonys. But at the end of the day, I didn't get the impression, based on that long, lengthy conversation, evening, whatever you want to call it. I didn't get the impression that this is a lady that is some brilliant, she needs to like direct Star Wars. And no, I don't even think any science fiction came up. I don't think this lady likes that's not the impression I got from her at all. I could be wrong. Maybe she talked and somehow now I'm not remembering, but I don't remember that there was like a sci-fi angle that's like, wow, this lady is like Mrs. Sci-Fi. Like, let's give her a Star Wars. She didn't seem like any of that. But maybe I'm being unfair. It was decades ago. Although, to be fair, that if you would have talked to me about sci-fi then, I would have been the same way I am today. You know what I mean? Like, I could have talked to her about all this shit that I like. Sorry, Sean, he's not here. Could have talked to her about all that stuff that I like, and I wouldn't. I'm more mature now, maybe. not even very much, but a little more mature. I'm more like, I have more experience or whatever it is. But I'm saying that the things that I liked at that age, I still like now. The fact that I liked stuff like, Star Wars or Star Trek or movies or action movies or, things that I enjoyed watching, I pretty much still enjoy watching them today. So my character at its core hasn't completely changed, even though perhaps I've matured a bit. Her character at the time didn't give me the vibe that I would think that she would be the based on my conversation with her, that she's so passionate about Star Wars. That's just my 2 cents.
I remember reading on Twitter that somebody who knew her from years ago said she was really cool and really based. And this was somebody who was relatively credible. So I wonder if she's just spent too much time in Hollywood and it.
Well, I think she did. And I'll tell you another thing. And I say this again, that people also think it's, strange. Today you look at her, and I always say this, that she looks like an Elvis impersonator of sorts. And I don't know why. She has like a mullet or whatever it is. when I saw her, like, in my 20s in that situation, she was 100% dressed like a woman, very, like, presented in more in a feminine way. She didn't look, obviously, I don't look today like I did then. I'm sure that I looked better then than I do today. I was, significantly, thinner, and when you're, in your mid 20s, I think I'm not saying I wasn't like the Calvin Klein's like underwear model, but I was presentable. You know what I mean? I was an okay, you know, it, I don't know. I can't give myself grades, but it was at least all right. You know what I mean? But I'm, again, not saying that I'm the Calvin Klein model. I'm just saying that, like, it was okay, at least, for whatever that's worth. So
I've seen pictures of her from back then. She didn't look terrible.
I saw her basically before those pictures that you're looking at. The oldest pictures that I see are stuff from maybe like 2009, 10, 11, when she started doing those plays. I even saw, like, maybe at least 5 years earlier or something like that. And I'm telling you that when I saw her, very, very different. And the demeanor, and she wasn't, if she was like into women or something like that, that's not a vibe that you would immediately pick up from her. And I dare say that I don't know. It's not my business to say what she was back then, but I dare say that I'm not 100% sure that whatever she is today, she was then, if you understand what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Yeah, I knew some people when I worked in the gaming industry, and they changed what they were in order to fit in and get promoted and climb the ladder. And they didn't do it in the transformer kind of way, but they definitely changed what they were.
Yeah.
So basically,
speaking of the gaming industry,
speaking of the game, that's a good segue. Yes, Bioware.
Ah, yes. Yes, it seems that they're in a bit of a pinch now after we've gotten Dragon Age: The Veilguard, that has been a massive failure. They've admitted publicly that it did less than half of the business that they were expecting, and so they're going to be dealing with a lot of issues there. One, I believe it was the head writer for the game has left, as well as the director. Both ended up leaving BioWare, and now they are laying off quite a few people, including the writing staff who was responsible for writing the Veilguard. So bunch of activist writers, all canned. This is good news. Is it going to make up for the disaster? Is it going to make back the money that they've lost? Absolutely not. But if you can imagine that BioWare could have kept these people on to work on whatever comes next, like Mass Effect, potentially, right? Uh, it's a good thing. Yes, we want the people. These people have proven that they're not capable of creating a good game. They're not capable of writing a narrative that is interesting for for gamers. And so yeah, it's time for them to go. Time for them to go.
Could it be that the age of failing upward is coming to an end? We have the headland story. Could it possibly be?
I mean, you would hope that eventually that people are going to wake up and be like, "Oh, we shouldn't be promoting people that just because they have this ideology or that identity or whatever. Maybe we should actually reward people who earn us money." I don't know. Seems kind of radical, but we can only hope that eventually that's where we end up, is with people turning back to understanding that merit is really the only thing that works. You have to look at people in especially in a business context. You've got to be looking at the people that are there, and you've got to reward the people who prove themselves as being capable. And when you are just rewarding people, you're hiring people, you're promoting people because they meet some sort of specific agenda or support some agenda, or maybe they're just a checkbox. That is not how you're going to be successful. It's so frustrating, having had to deal with this for so long now, and we still have quite a few games and films and stuff that they're still in the pipe. They're still going to be coming out, but it's good to know that maybe, just maybe, it's starting to sink in with some of these companies. And it's kind of what I've always said, is that, yeah, this stuff is going to last for a while, but eventually companies are going to start running out of money. They're going to realize that, as an executive, as a president in this in this company, eventually there's going to be a time where my job is on the line. What am I going to do? Am I going to keep supporting this ideology? Am I going to keep pushing for all of these policies that are leading towards the end of this business and my no longer having my position? Because for a lot of these people, these executives, it's not even about the money. It's about power. And if they lose their position, they lose that power. And so, eventually they're going to realize, maybe all of this stuff that we've been pushing is not successful. And that if I keep it up, eventually I'm not going to have a job. I'm not going to have the power that I have as a high powered executive in some organization. So yeah, who knows? There's some companies that I'm not convinced they can turn themselves around. They're just too full of activists to actually ever be successful without just firing tons of people. And I think Disney is one of them. They're going to have a hell of a hard time turning around because they've just had so many people in Disney. I think there's some video game companies. I think Ubisoft is in a bad place. They've got so many activists that are part of their organization. They're going to have a real hard time cleaning that out. But
I feel like
they're going to
Ubisoft
try.
is done. I feel like Ubisoft has no way of recovering, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think they're done too. But we can only hope that capitalism wins the day, because there are companies that will die on the woke hill. They are not going to give up. I think Disney is one of them.
Yeah, I think the only chance for Disney to be resurrected, to be saved, is going to be, finally they're just keep destroying themselves. They keep destroying value for their investors, and eventually somebody steps up and says, "We're not going to take this anymore. we have this company has to make money. I have too much money, invested in this company," and they're going to have to try and force some kind of change in the company. I really think that's the only chance they've got.
Maybe right.
Yeah. But yeah, this Disney is one that I think there might be a chance. It just keeps failing. It keeps moving forward with this thing. You keep trying to sneak agendas into stuff. They keep acting like they're trying to turn things around, but I don't know. I don't see it happen. Honestly, I don't see it happen at BioWare either. I think they've got way too much rot in there. They've got way too much of the ideology happening at, in the lower levels and all the way up to the top. So yeah, all the way up to, Microsoft and everything. I don't think it's going to happen.
Kurtzman said the same thing about Star Trek every season. He's like, this year we're going to go with Roddenberry's vision. And every year it was worse until... And
Section 31, which was the worst thing that ever happened. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I actually, in my 60s, I discovered YouTube because of Star Trek. That's when I found a guy named Clobberin Times channel.
Oh, Clobby.
Oh, Clobby.
Rest in peace, Clobby.
Yes.
Rip Clobby.
He's one of the best people I've ever known and talked with. But that's how I got into the whole YouTube thing at my age. It was... And unlike Leslie Heslin, I can honestly say, Star Trek probably did save my life when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I can believe that.
Yeah. Star Trek was a huge part of my life growing up. Yeah.
I don't want to be mean, but I don't know what an important part Star Wars actually did play in Leslie Headland's wife. Wife. That was funny on a few different levels. But what I'm saying is that it's a nice story that she told, but I don't quite believe it because the proof isn't in the pudding. Anybody that does the Acolyte, it doesn't seem like somebody that's very thorough in their Star Wars.
Yeah, and when she said it, her crocodile tear, like, I didn't buy it. It's just like I don't buy anything Rachel Zegler says.
Yeah.
Like, when she says good things or she sings good things, there's no sincerity there. I don't actually, that's my biggest problem with her. When she sings of love, I don't believe it. And that's why I don't think she's a good singer, even though she has a powerful voice, but she doesn't have an authentic voice.
Right. And I think that on this on this positive note, we should start wrapping up the stream. And let's just say bye to everybody that I can here.
Yeah,
There was some kind of thing going on here where I had to go in and come back, so maybe not all the names will be here, but I can work with whatever I can.
Yeah,
And
over on Rumble, we just had a few people, so I can give you those real quick. We had Kivo 1961 who joined us as always. Thank you, Kivo 1961, for being here and being a member over on Rumble. We also had Phantom Monk and Pyromancer, Texas Ranch Rocks, and that was all we really got in the chat over on Rumble. But we
there's still a
appreciate
lot of
anybody
people.
else.
There's still people watching, but
Appreciate
by
anyone
the
else
way,
who was watching.
whether you're on Rumble or on YouTube, you can definitely do a like. That always helps us. Or, you've been great in the chat, but if you can do a like, that's cool. And if you're on Rumble and you're just watching through the app and you haven't, registered to do an account, you should definitely register and just sign up for an account. It's free. And then if you are in a giving mood, you could do a like and follow us. So that's on Rumble. And on YouTube also, if you happen to have been recommended this stream in your recommended videos and you're not already subscribed, you should. And you can also do a like and also check out what these guys do, whatever platform they're on, whether on X. You can check out Istophobos and Professor R2. Professor R2 is also on Rumble and on YouTube, and you should definitely check their stuff out. Professor, if you feel like dropping links or something, I'm not 100% sure, but I think you can.
Yeah.
If you want, you could do that. In any case, so great to have everybody here. And then based on the names I see here, I'll read whatever I can. There was a bit of a reboot here, so if I miss somebody, I'm sorry, and I'm obviously going to get you next time. Empress NM, I have Nerdic, Eraserhead, Jeanette, Six, Adam Gray, Stephen Mack, Joshua Calkins, Robnut Scubla, let's see, Argentum, The Dead Man, obviously, and The Dead Man, thank you for the super chats. Great, really appreciate it. And then let me see if anything else happened with the... Okay, so... Sorry, that took me a second. Joshua Calkins, I said. Eraserhead, Empress NM, I think I said. Adam Gray, I think I said. Some of these I'm probably repeating. And some probably because they were at the beginning, maybe I don't see them here. Tim Hayes. I'm doing my best. The Big Ship, obviously the Big Ship. I may have said that. Phantom Monk, that I think you said.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think I went through most of the people. There could be people at the beginning, and if there is Emperor Goodwin, that's good. That's nice. Oh, he wrote Price pissed off Jane Seymour because he wanted to buy Leslie Headland drinks instead of walking to her car. You're now just confusing the different stories.
On purpose.
Right. The
Yeah.
Jane Seymour one was something that it was work related because I worked for a company that, was involved in an event that some celebrities were there, had to do with branding and things like that. I was a person that was new in that company. I was young, and the owner of the company, told me at the event that Jane Seymour, rather than coordinating with any kind of security, just walked out. And since I was there and I was rather close to the door, he just told me, hey, she can't just walk out of the building by herself. You have to make sure she gets to her car or whatever it is. And I ended up running after her, and she got annoyed. She thought I was a stalker or something. I don't know. The whole thing was a bummer.
I don't think I've ever gotten over watching Live and Let Die. That woman is just a goddess.
She was not, she was significantly older but again, this is not yesterday either. I'm talking also, this is after the Leslie Headland one meeting, but it was only like a few years later. I was significantly younger, and she was too. I see James Caserta. I saw his name come up.
Yes, and we got another super sticker from Six for $1.49. It's a whole banana this time.
Whole banana
instead of just a banana peel. So I think we're moving up in the world.
Captain Palsy also, and Dude Bro Seth 420. Nice to see you. He did a cheers, so that's good. And Tim Hayes, I think I said. So basically, at the end of the day, for me, it was a bummer because, like you said, Istophobos, I've always liked Jane Seymour, so I was happy. I'm like, I came with like the best of intentions, but somehow it all turned out wrong. And the only memory, the time I haven't, met her or anything like that, it's kind of me not making a good impression. But I did what I could at the end. I stood kind of at the entrance of the, it was sort of a hotel, but also that had like kind of auditoriums for these type of events. Doesn't really matter. I was in the middle of a New York City, very busy area, just kind of standing there, making sure she got to some car. Did the best I could. She did look very glamorous. I'll say that. She wasn't 20 at that point, but she did, still a woman that knows how to present herself. So there's that, I guess.
I'm of the opinion that real beauty never fades unless you cover it up with plastic surgery.
And you're probably right. Istophobos gave a 99-cent sticker, a pile of poop with a face. Thank you, Istophobos. Sorry. Yeah, it was Istophobos. Yeah, I'm already thought I was imagining it, but yes, you just did that.
Lovely.
And the dead man says Price is also mad about Al Pacino. That's not a lie. The girl from the new Star Wars should have worn that. I'm not sure what this is referring to, but yes, I said it earlier today, I think on a stream, and it is the truth, is that I once did a selfie with Al Pacino because I met him at a cocktail party. This actually happened, and I took this selfie with him. At the time, it was just like starting to be a thing that you take selfies. I know it seems like for a million years people have been doing that, but take about 10 years back, and that's probably when people started doing it. It wasn't 50 years ago that people were doing selfies. I don't know if it was 10, 11, 12, whatever years.
Yeah.
It hasn't been 100 years. So I was at this cocktail party, and I usually don't even do that. It's just like there's a very short list of people that I'd want like a picture with at any price, really. No pun intended. But the thing is that Al Pacino, I knew that like there's no chance that I'm ever gonna be like face to face with Al Pacino, talking to him about how like I like The Godfather and stuff. It's probably just the worst. Probably Al Pacino, when he meets somebody, the last thing he wants to hear is me, telling him like what movies I liked and what he did. I'm probably just annoying jerk off, but I didn't know what to say really. And then I it's not like I could stand there and talk to him for 70 hours, and I'm just like, fuck it. Sorry, Sean. And I just took my camera out and I said, hey, I let's do like, can we do some pictures? Like, yeah, sure, yeah, hoo-ah. And then like we did the selfie, and I have a selfie with Al Pacino. And the reason why people were mentioning it is because about a week or two later on that Access Hollywood show with Mario Lopez boasted that he's the first person that ever took a selfie with Al Pacino. And then he showed a video, and he's like, Al, have you ever taken a selfie with anybody? And he's like, no. And he's like, so we're going to take the first selfie together, the first selfie you've ever done. And Al Pacino's like, yeah. And then like he pulls out the camera, and they do a selfie, and then like Mario Lopez is like, "This is the first selfie that Al Pacino has ever done," which was a lie. So that's why I was getting annoyed, because yes, I was the first person. I don't know if I was the first person. I can say that Mario Lopez was not the first person who did a selfie with Al Pacino. I am very petty. People are saying I'm petty and jealous. That is the truth. I do have a picture with me and Al Pacino.
Al Pacino as a two-timing son of a bitch.
But
At least
you know
with
what?
selfies.
It's okay. You know, people told me that maybe he didn't even realize that I was doing a selfie, and he didn't,
He probably didn't know what a selfie was.
maybe he didn't know what it was, or he didn't care. I don't know. He probably didn't even know what anybody wanted. Yeah. He is like, he had a good vibe. I said that. Like, sometimes you meet celebrities and then in reality they're kind of douches. I don't mind saying this. I've probably said it before that I met Seth Rogen once, and he kind of seemed like a douche to me. Nothing personal. It's just maybe he's the nicest guy ever, and at that moment in time, that's the vibe I got from him.
It's
But
interesting. I've never met him, and I'm quite positive he's a complete douche.
that's the vibe that I got from him. It was a brief, whatever. And I interacted with him briefly, and he just kind of, even in the little interaction I had with him, I got like a vibe that I didn't love. And yeah, what can I do? So that really didn't happen. I'm embarrassed to say this, but there's somewhere in the world a photo of me with Seth Rogen. I think that maybe I'm the only one that has a copy to it, and that's the way it's going to stay. I it's one of those things to put in the vault. Hopefully nobody else, because who wants to have a picture around, like, circulating with Seth Rogen, right?
I have a selfie with Billy Gibbons.
Billy Gibbons?
Yes. That's probably my only famous one.
What did he do? Remind me.
He is the guitarist and lead singer and songwriter for ZZ Top.
You know what? That is much better than Seth Rogen. I'll take your thing. I like ZZ Top. I didn't know the names because for me they look like three people with these long beards. But you know what? ZZ Top are pretty cool. Totally prefer that. Not to mention that he was in Back to the Future 3. Already a plus in my book.
Yeah, and I have a pretty big beard, so the selfie sort of looks like a furry convention.
you look no, but it looks like you and him are members of ZZ Top. Yeah. I would assume.
Yeah, that's
the best. That's the best. So yes, your picture is better. I would trade Seth Rogen for a picture like that any day of the week. So I'm embarrassed. You know what embarrasses me is that I was interested at that moment. I'm like, oh, it's cool. Maybe like I'll take a picture with Seth Rogen. And now when I think about that, I am embarrassed. But sometimes people make mistakes. Yeah. And
still, Al Pacino is pretty cool. It sort of makes up for it.
I guess so. I guess that kind of, they canceled each other out. I went for like cool and like really annoying, and it is what it is. But on that,
they cancel each other out, so you're left with Jane Seymour's stalker and Leslie Headland's date.
Right. Leslie Edlund speaking to her at a bar, stalker of Jane Seymour. The bar incident with Nelson Mandela. And I don't know what. And the weird selfie with Pacino and a crappy one with Seth Rogen. It's good enough.
Wait, he didn't die at the bar you were at, did he?
No.
Okay.
No, somebody just announced that he died, and we're like, oh, like, and that was it. But really, it's not exactly the setting. I don't know what the reaction was supposed to be. It's just strange that that's where somebody said it. Like, I don't know why, out of all places, that was a strange location to share this information.
Yeah, that's kind of a buzzkill.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like I said, everybody like was quiet for like a second, and we're all looking at each other and like, kind of like in those movies when there's like a record scratch and everybody stops, and then like quickly the music starts up and everybody just goes back to doing what they were doing. It was something like that, but not out of disrespect. It's just, what people at a bar, are they going to stop drinking suddenly? So it is what it is. The big ship can't believe Price dated Seth Rogen. I didn't date him. I met him and he talks exactly like, all the snorting and the way he talks or whatever he does. That's the way he is. That's like in the the really I would say brief, like we exchanged a few sentences and just I was talking to him about something that had to do with that event, and while he answered, he was like, it's like he does that even when you're just like talking to him about nothing, and still manage to somehow come off as a douche. In my opinion, of course, not. Maybe you'll like him. I don't want to, influence anybody to think one way or another. And on that very positive note, I want to thank everybody for a great stream, and I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Professor R2. I want to thank Istaphobos, and to all of you in the chat. This, it's great. I always love hanging out with everybody here, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday, every Tuesday and Thursday at 11:45 p.m. Eastern, the Night Owl. So we'll see you then.
Take care.
Bye.